Trick play, looking to pass, and into the end zone for a touchdown as Thornton goes to Snead. Tyquan Thornton with a touchdown pass to R.J. Snead.
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Over the middle, Elliott is going to take it for a first down and goal.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
A lot of window dressing here on second and goal. Smith comes back into the backfield. They run Bohannon with blockers in front and into the end zone. Gary Bohannon.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
On second and 10, all day to throw it. Well, not quite all day, maybe one play. Doyle doing it on both ends, on both sides of the football.
Now, here's David Smoak.
All right, sometimes, the kids leave the nest. Good afternoon, this Friday show on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Craig Smoak and Paul Catalina have the day off. Did a high school game last night up in Mansfield. It was 63-56. That's the regulation score. Midway, who we have broadcast 11 of the last 12 years or so, lost to Lake Ridge 63-56 in a game that was crazy but fun. And back here now looking ahead to the college football season and college football weekend as well, with some breaking news in college football. Not so much breaking because we knew that this was going to happen, but now it's about to be official that Jacksonville State, Liberty, New Mexico State, and Sam Houston State will be joining Conference USA as they try to get their conference back up to a certain amount of numbers because they've been raided. Like the American at times has been raided. Like others have, in fact, lost teams along the way. I saw this note. Since the late July, the decision by Texas and Oklahoma, when that story popped in late July that they're headed to the SEC at some point, most likely you would think the summer of 2023. As just kind of that appears to be the date or the time period. 22 schools have changed or will be changing conferences. And that's not the last number. That's not it. There will be more. And again, we always have talked about the Chapter 2 with the Big 12 at some point as well, which could add 4 more to that list of 22 teams. All right, Armstrong Sims is in the studio, runs the mothership. Jack McKenzie in the studio here at the mothership. Paul and Craig again are off. We have Scott Drew. He recorded a lengthy podcast with both Ashley Hodge and Jason King. They are the ones who sleep with Baylor men's basketball like jerseys on every night. They recorded a podcast with him yesterday, and we're going to play part of that for the head coach of the defending national champion Baylor Bears. Grayson Grundhafer, 345 on the recruiting weekend, or the recruiting update with Baylor. Cody Kellner, college football statistician. He has basically a PhD in college football stats, and he's going to join us at 4 o'clock and give us his version of the first week of the college football playoff standings. Sam Houston State Athletic Director Bobby Williams on the news I just mentioned about Conference USA. Think about this. Sam Houston State won the national title earlier this year. The Bearcats. I'm an SFA guy, and I was happy for them, although I've usually always hated Sam Houston State because that's like our rival. But they're really, really good in football. I mean, they have been amazing in football, and they were in, now they're in, remember, they're like in the Western Athletic Conference. They had moved from the Southland Conference with SFA and a few others. So they're there for a year, and they're going to be joining the Conference USA here pretty soon. So Bobby Williams, the AD at Sam Houston State, 420. JJ Joe, former Baylor quarterback, at 430. Sam Bradshaw, breaking down the X's and O's of TCU and Baylor and some other college football as well. And Ivan Maisel, national writer for many years, Sports Illustrated, and now with On3.com, his take on college football, where we are today. Now, the number to call is 254-339-1122. The text line is open as well. And think about this. 22 teams have already made decisions at some point to be leaving conferences and joining other conferences. And your thoughts about that today as well. Here's the text line right off the top. From Daniel, hell of a midway game last night. John Kelly, happy Friday, 365 Sports. Good afternoon, fellas. From John, y'all should be able to handle TCU pretty good. He's talking about Baylor. Also, salt of the earth. Joey McGuire is going to be the new head coach at Texas Tech. Right? I would love for Joey McGuire to have that opportunity. There's no question he is in the mix. There's no question he had an opportunity to be a head coach at a school in Texas earlier, in fact, over the offseason. He also was the one that was up for the job when Matt Rule left, and there's no question that Joey was in the mix, but Dave Aranda, of course, got that job. Joey's a legendary coach from Cedar Hill High School, great recruiter, and so that is part of the discussion of what Texas Tech is doing, and, of course, there's still TCU among others as well. From Owen, it's the Smoak Show. Well, it usually is two of the three of us, and then, of course, Paul, the Italian stallion, there as well. From Owen, let's go Mountaineers. John, howdy, Owen. Let's go Mountaineers. Friday is here. Open lines. Here we go, Armstrong. Let's take the calls. Armstrong will announce your name. We'll take your calls, 254-339-1122, and I'll get to a couple of other notes. There's a story today on ESPN.com about how much dead money. You hear about dead money when it comes to the NFL with salary cap casualties. Dead money in college football since 2010, over $500 million being paid with buyouts and much more. We'll get to that in a moment. And here we go, Armstrong with the calls.
Yeah, we have Owen from Virginia.
Owen, West Virginia fan. Good afternoon, Owen, on 365 Sports and Sikkim 365 Radio.
Afternoon, Smokey. Show them young bucks how it's done by pulling it alone today. I like it.
Yeah, it'll take me 3 days to get over hosting the show solo on my own, but I'll be able to do that. Yep. So what's on your mind today?
Well, there is a massive outrage in the college football playoffs and the rankings. And, I've always made the joke that there's nothing more corrupt than these rankings. But, what can we do as fans to get this changed? They said that it's been hurting for a long time, money-wise and TV ratings. But what can we do as fans to get it changed to the point that Alabama needs to earn their way in, not just, oh, it's Alabama, they should already go in?
I don't know if you can, Owen. I really don't. I mean, I wish I could sit there and say there was a magic wand. I do know this. Nicole Arbach today wrote an article in theathletic.com about how, the college football playoff committee, they met earlier this week. I believe, I don't know, I think it's always usually in Dallas because that's central location. But, remember, Owen, the momentum up until late July with the college football expansion was going to pop to 12. Remember that?
Yes. Yeah.
And then Oklahoma, Texas, and the SEC happened. And then others around the country, even other Power 5 schools, presidents, ADs, and whatever, were like, whoa, wait a minute, what's going on here? It has taken that momentum with Bob Bowlesby and Greg Sankey on that committee, has taken that momentum. It's like it all of a sudden lost its transmission. And now they're not floundering. We know they're going to get to 12. I don't think there's any question they're going to get to 12. Not everybody wants it to go to 12. Some want to keep it at 4. But I think that momentum changed because of what people have seen with expansion or realignment. And now with what happened this week, Owen, with Cincinnati, regardless of how you feel about them, I think that has also maybe slowed down or even taken that transmission out of that car for right now. And people you're not the only one outraged. Now, is it fair? I don't know. But to me, I understand, everyone wants to gobble up more and more real estate. People want to gobble up more and more businesses, buy out other businesses, get rid of your competition. That seems to be going on in college football. If you're a part of the big boys, you probably don't care. But there's enough of you that have told us in the chat rooms and on phone calls, and Owen, you as well, man, are we losing every piece of innocence of college football that leads to what we hope is a national championship that's not predetermined before the year even starts?
Yeah, I hope we're not, but I would say in order to fix it, why not do something like similar to the BCS? I know we wanted to steer away from that because the BCS was weird, but it was also cool because you also had all the bowl games, and the bowl games mattered. But I'd like to see something like some kind of computer system rankings that doesn't see logos but sees strength of schedule, sees record, and I get it with Alabama. They do play a hard schedule. They play Auburn, they play Georgia, they play Arkansas, they play Ole Miss. Now, granted, Arkansas didn't mean anything these past couple of years, but they have this year, and Ole Miss has this year. So I get the strength of schedule, but I don't know what would be the best way to go about it. It was on your show yesterday. Y'all talked about the reporter from Cincinnati talked about that. 3 through 12 was a discussion, but it is appalling that they walked in there and said, "Oh, Georgia's number 1, Alabama's automatically number 2."
Yeah,
after they lost the 2 loss.
And there's not much you and I can do about it. You can complain. You can call your constituents. You can do whatever you want. You hope that at some point there's a fair way to do it. Let me say this, and Owen, thanks for the call. 254-339-1122. It's a great question, great comment, great opinion, great topic. Let me ask you this. The SEC and some in college football, whoever it might be, they want to kind of go to this super conference like NFL Part 2, right? You know what the NFL does? Yeah. Oh, and the NFL decides the championship. Wins matter. Conference wins and championships and divisions matter. You don't go to the Super Bowl because you're Tom Brady and the Patriots because of what you've done before. You earn it by winning your division or getting to the playoffs and winning playoff games, home or away or whatever, and eventually you win a conference title to play in the Super Bowl. Nobody gets a pass.
Absolutely.
The Cowboys have the most powerful franchise in all of sports, right, as far as the NFL. They haven't been to the Super Bowl since 1995. No one gave them a pass. Cowboys fans wish they would have gotten a pass. So, hey, thanks for the call. We got to move on to another one, but thanks for your call. The NFL, if this is what everyone wants it to be, like an NFL power league, the NFL decides their champions by winning, not by who you are or what logos are on your helmet or how powerful or how much money you bring in. Otherwise, the Cowboys would have not just 5 Super Bowls, but like 12 or 15 or 20. But they don't. They haven't won a Super Bowl since Super Bowl 30 in Phoenix against the Steelers. And we're now like at Super Bowl 56 or 57. It's a great question. It's a great topic. And I know it's frustrating. Ivan Maisel will join us at 5:30 on it. And Cody Kellner will kind of help break down some of the data with us. Dave Bartu was fantastic earlier this week as well. So the number to call, 254-339-1122. Our web, spot on. And the NFL builds scheduling scheme to promote parity, and pretty much every team has a chance at the start of the season to be in the Super Bowl. Think about that. Like, give me Armstrong and Jack, either one of you. Give me a team this year in the NFL that's better, or at least much. The Cowboys are better than we thought. They're 6-1. They're better. They've had a couple of games where they've had some things go their way against the Chargers, against New England, against Minnesota, but they earned those wins. Somehow they won. Give me a team in the NFL that's better than we thought they would be. Dallas is one of them, but they're a big logo. Give me another team.
Arizona.
Arizona is like one loss, right? They just lost to Green Bay. Arizona, Cincinnati, although they had a bad loss this past weekend. In college football, Arizona and Cincinnati would not be allowed to win at all. They would be Wake Forest and Cincinnati. Speaking of Cincinnati, right?
Yeah.
The 1999 Rams with Kurt Warner, who comes out of nowhere, and they have the greatest show on turf, right? They would not have been allowed to win the Super Bowl that year. They kind of came out of nowhere to win it. They didn't have any pedigree. The Rams had never won a Super Bowl before. They'd been with Vince Ferragamo back in, late 70s, lost to the Steelers, and that's it. So college football wants to be the NFL, or at least some schools, conferences, presidents, ADs want that. Well, then win a championship by earning it. And I'm not saying Georgia hasn't earned the number one seed. I'm not saying Alabama is not really, really good. But let's not hand it to them. Let's let them win games and earn it. And right now, Georgia, of everybody in college football, with all due respect to Cincinnati as well, Georgia's the one that you can look at and go, my God, there's no question.
But their defense is insane.
Yeah, and by the way, they have a linebacker who could be in trouble. There's an allegation of sexual assault, of how they handle that and what distraction that might be for Georgia. Let's see, from Eric, Thunder Wolfo. NCAA still marketing the brand of the top teams in a Super Bowl-like playoff system. From Owen, you can count the Rams this year as a team that maybe is a surprise. They're not a surprise to me. When they got Matthew Stafford, they had the it factor, and they had to still go out and win games. They've beaten the Bucks. They're pretty good. Let's see, Eric, the NCAA would want a 2-loss Alabama team in the Super Bowl. Well, you can have a team that is a wild card team in the NFL that might be a logo team, and they can get to the Super Bowl, but they have to win to get to the playoffs, then win 1, 2, or is it 3 games on the road to then get to the championship game? But they have to earn it. Nobody's given anything. The only thing that's given in the NFL when it comes to the postseason is if you have the 2 best records, right? And you get a first-round bye. That's it. But you earn that. No one has said, okay, the Cowboys in 1995 won their 3rd Super Bowl in 4 years. Let's let them get to the playoffs in 96. And they did. They lost to Carolina. Let's give them, no. They got knocked out by Carolina that year. Carolina was kind of a team that, they were almost a brand-new franchise. They'd just become a brand-new franchise a couple of years prior to that, with Dom Capers as the head coach. From Jeff, the College Football Playoff Committee, is Calvin Ball. I don't know what that means. Am I missing something there? From Cheeto Miko, playoffs should be bare records only, no pedigree checks. From Roberto Zavala, I say expand to 16. That way everything gets settled on the field. From Mike S., the problem is, Smokey, that no one knows the rules for how the college football playoff is put together. Every NFL team knows the rules, how to make the playoffs, and how to get to the Super Bowl. Well, Dave Bartu kind of gave us a sneak peek. Armstrong did. Well, it was a pretty interesting segment a couple of days ago where he said, no, this is what Bill Hancock, the president, these are the data points. This is how you go about deciding who's going to get in. And kind of maybe insinuated, no, he didn't insinuate. He basically threw down the gauntlet. We'll do everything we can. Let's make sure that no group of 5s have a chance. Even when Cincinnati wins a game on the road against a top 10 team in Notre Dame. Now, we could pick apart everybody, but Cincinnati is not going to get in unless there's chaos. And so that's why at the start of the year, I want college football chaos. All right, Armstrong.
We have Tracy from Cincinnati.
From Cincinnati, Ohio, home of those Bearcats and the Bengals. Tracy, good afternoon. How you doing on 365 Sports?
Hey, I'm doing well, thanks. It's a big Who Day, and
Yes,
we got
sir.
game day in town, so it's a big time in Cincinnati. But I just wanted to give you a comment, and I heard somebody else say this, so I don't want to take credit for it. But definitely, if what we got right now is no metrics for the college football playoff. So if we want to do something with metrics that we can measure and everybody has to agree on, at least to a certain degree, you got to open it up to at least 8. Just take the Power 5 champs, take the highest group of 5 teams, and then give you 2 wild cards. I think that would just solve everything and just do it within the bowl system. It might play to the SEC Big Ten to a certain degree because you guarantee the champs, but it also guarantees the Big 12 champ. It guarantees a group of 5 team in there. And you could just pick the best 2 teams out of those who didn't make those metrics. So it would cut down the debate. It would just be like there'll be no sense in saying, well, what about this team? What about that team? Look, they didn't win a conference championship. They're not the best group of 5 teams. They're not one of the 2 best wild card teams. I think that would just kind of solve everything up. So they said they got to do something by the end of the year. Hopefully they expand at least 8 to make it fair.
I agree with everything you said, and there may be a word or two that people can misjudge or maybe take. Here's what. If you allow everyone to know at the start of the year, if you win your conference title, no matter your record, if you are Cinderella and you somehow shocked the world and you win a conference title in the Big Ten or whoever it is, you get in because you won the conference title. You may have an 8-5 record, but you get in. And you might have a 12-0 team that loses in a conference championship game. They still have a chance as a so-called wild card or at large. But if the group of 5, at least they're given the chance at the start of the year that they know one of the 40, 50, or 60 of them, one of them's going to make it, then at least you gave them a chance. You're giving them a chance. I agree with that. Now, what's interesting, Tracy, now is with a lot of these group of 5 schools now joining, not a lot, but a handful are joining Power 5 conferences. For example, Cincinnati, Houston, Brigham Young's an independent. They were already technically a Power 5. And then also with UCF, right? Now you're whittling down on the group of 5 teams. You don't have as many as you did before, but I still think, I don't care. Give the group of 5 at least one representative and let them be NC State in 1983 to shock the world with Jim Valvano.
Well, they're doing it now with the bowl system. Like the highest group of 5 team that's ranked gets to go to the New Year's 6. So if you just keep the same concept, you would do that for the 8, like just the Power 5 champs, the highest group of 5 teams, and 2 wild cards. Whoever you want to pick for the 2 wild cards, whether it's big time conferences or not. I mean, it just seems fair at this point because looking at Cincinnati, they're doing everything that everybody's asking them to do. Right? They're winning their games. Style points is just, Luke Fickle said he don't even know what style points is because his wife picks out his clothes. So he doesn't even understand what that concept is. He just knows winning. And so if we're going to reward winning, this is the only thing that makes sense because top 4 teams are always going to be a 15 that got left out. Like A&M got left out one year. There's been multiple teams who have been like on the cusp who just didn't get in, and it just seemed like they have a fair argument, but the system right now is just we're just seeing brands. It's an invitational.
Yep.
And
it's like the Masters. The Masters is an invitational. You can earn it with certain type of world points and all that ratings. But you mentioned A&M. They've never been close to. I know. Well, at Johnny Manziel's year, but they still weren't a part of being left out of that. But there have been some teams. There have been big boy schools too now that have been left out of the national title. There were a couple of Joe Paterno teams at Penn State back in the day, unbeaten teams, did not win the national title. Let's see. There was. In fact,
I remember Boise State beating Oklahoma.
Yeah,
remember that?
Yeah, and even if
that was big time.
Even if it's once every 5 or 6 years that happens, at least it can happen, right? At least that game, that upset, that Cinderella can happen at that particular moment. Tracy, thanks for your call, buddy, in Cincinnati. The text line, in fact, the 512, completely agree with Tracy from Cincinnati. Make the conference championships count. From 304, I think a lot of people are going to be shocked when some of the non-blue bloods are knocking off the big names in the expanded playoff. That's great. That's why the NCAA men's tournament is so popular, because you do have the opportunity for that first weekend, Thursday, Friday, and then into Saturday and Sunday for teams that are, even if they're 11 seeds or 13 seeds or a 16 seed, remember that? To win a game. To win a game against somebody that has that blue blood background and all the history and tradition of college basketball. 254-339-1122 is the number to call. The text line, you guys are great, all of you, guys and girls. From the Texas Gunslinger, if they beat Houston, that's Cincinnati. Daniel, SMU in 82 should have been national titles. They were, 11-0-1? Wasn't that 11-0-1? With Pittsburgh, maybe? Was it Pittsburgh they tied? It's going to take a little bit of my value of brain power to remember that, but I think I kind of remember. Hey, I'll tell you this. I mentioned this Blue Bloods. I mentioned Penn State. There's been maybe a USC team, or there's been teams that have, like, Blue Bloods. In 2008, remember the nightmare of the Big 12? It's always the Big 12. Texas beat Oklahoma. Texas Tech on the Michael Crabtree from Graham Harrell touchdown catch, remember, beat Texas. Oklahoma then throttled Texas Tech. OU, because of the computer ratings, by just a smidgen, that still came down to some human votes in the poll, but by a smidgen, they got into the national playoff. They earned it, but so did Texas. They had beaten Oklahoma. And then Texas Tech goes, wait a minute, what about us? Even though Oklahoma smoked them. There have been other teams, big blood, blue bloods. It's not just a group of fives who get left out, but the group of fives get left out now. They have no chance. Here's why the four, and when you go, why didn't you go all five conference titles, Power 5, whatever? Okay, well, maybe one conference or two conferences like this year, the ACC. Wake Forest says, hey, wait a minute, what about us? Oregon in the Pac-12, hey, wait a minute, what about us? The Big 12, Oklahoma hasn't really looked all that dominant, but hey, wait a minute, what about us? Or Oklahoma State or Baylor, what about us? You sit there now. The reason why they're at large, basically all of them, is the SEC, which has run college football with it. I'm talking not just in the power, but I'm money, whatever, when it comes to winning national titles. Yes, Ohio State and Clemson have had theirs too. But the SEC knows that they can have a shocking upset in the SEC championship game, but if they have a team that has earned number 1, 2, or 3 in the country, they're going to still get in. They're smart. The SEC also, or whoever, the big boy, don't get fooled that going to 8 or 12 is going to help just a group of 5. It's also going to help the Power 5 schools and conferences, because now they're going to get 3 or 4 teams in the playoff rather than maybe just 1 or 2 or none. But I do think if you just give one group of 5 team, whether this year it's Cincinnati, whoever it might be, or in 2000, whatever year, 17 or whatever it was with UCF, at least give them a chance. And as Craig said all day yesterday on the show, and as Paul said all day yesterday on the show, we keep hearing about, well, Alabama would beat the hell out of Cincinnati, or Georgia would crush Cincinnati. Okay, what if they do? What are some of those teams doing to the Blue Bloods they're playing in the semifinals already? There's been how many memorable since they went to 4 in the playoff? How many memorable semifinal games have there been? I can remember it was at Oklahoma, Georgia. That game was nuts. That game was drunk. And that was back and forth. There may be 1 or 2 others, but I can't sometimes remember yesterday, much less 2 or 3 or 4 years ago. But we've seen Alabama beat the hell out of people. We've seen Ohio State beat the hell out of Alabama. We've seen Clemson beat up Alabama. We've seen people beat up Oregon. We've seen people beat up Oklahoma. So you might have blowouts, but you're having blowouts, as Craig and Paul both yesterday have said, and we've said before, you're having blowouts now anyway. The prodigal heel. Did I see a super chat? I did. Oh, I tried health camp burgers. That was the big discussion yesterday about some of the places to eat burgers or pizza or whatever it might be in Waco, the prodigal heel. I tried health camp burgers. I've been there. It's pretty good. It's really, really pretty good. From Cy, no way Kellen Moore goes to TCU. He had the chance to go to Boise State last year and passed. He's in line to be a better NFL job next year. Why go to TCU? Makes no sense. Well, I mean, that's kind of, I haven't really paid attention to what's coming out of Frisco today, but, I don't know what's going to happen with Texas Tech. And I know that the name of Joey McGuire has obviously been mentioned quite a bit in the last 24 to 48 hours. Armstrong?
Well, we have 2 callers. You choose. We have Michael from Temple, or we have Scott Frost.
I knew one day that all of what I've said about my buddy Scott Frost would get back to him. Let's go to Michael and Temple. Let me think about Scott Frost because, he did win a national title for my favorite college football team. But, my God, Scott, let me think about whether we accept your call or not. Mike and Temple, good afternoon on 365 Sports. Hope you're doing well.
Yes, sir. Hello?
Yes,
can you
sir.
hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Actually, I'm on the Prodigal Hill, but
okay.
Ironically, you just read my comment. But I was sitting there, listening to the pure blue bloods, right? You were talking about them, and I mean, how fair is it whenever the SEC has about 4 teams in the top, 10 every year, so they don't really have to, Everybody else, they're already given a 40% chance of going to the national title and, playing for these big bowls, and it's not fair to the rest of the other teams. But I don't remember, if you remember back in 2014, whenever TCU played Ole Miss, after Ole Miss had beat Alabama, they played TCU and got blown out. And, this is where we should be willing to go ahead and consider expanding the playoffs because there's definitely a bias, particularly whenever it comes into the bowl series, because it's year in and year out. You get SEC team, random ACC team, every once in a while a Big Ten team, every once in a while a Big 12 team. And you're not getting a real, true, legitimate champion. You look at college basketball, and they've had it right since when? The late 30s, 39? So I'm like you. I don't get it. I don't understand why we can't get in a legitimate playoff inside the college football ranks.
One of the things that concerns me, by the way, great to hear from you, Michael and Temple, and I hope you enjoyed those burgers. One of the things that concerns me is that in fact, Joshua Dunn on the chat room, 10 of the 14 semifinal games have been decided by 3 scores or more. I remembered Oklahoma-Georgia was a shootout, and I'm sure there's 1 or 2 others that I'm just forgetting about, but that's okay. 10 of the 14 semifinal games have been basically 18 to 21 points or better. Blowouts. You mentioned, Michael, one thing you said is a true legitimate champion. I wouldn't say that the teams that have won during this playoff aren't legitimate. I think a lot of teams will look like Clemson, and even Alabama last year, or other teams that have Alabama beat Georgia when Tua threw that touchdown pass coming in. I think the teams that win titles, I think they're legitimate, but I think it could be there's a better way. My concern is college football is now going into January. Okay, well, they used to do that all the time with New Year's Bowl games, right? Now we're going into that second week or so of January. Okay, they're doing that so they can prop up the national title game because there's a lot of money spent by sponsors and the networks. I understand that as well. You want to go to 14, 15, 16, 17 games? Is college football, they're ready for that? Because if they want to be the NFL, that's how much they're playing. But if they're going to be the NFL, then make sure every game counts and you earn your way by winning divisions or getting in as an at-large or wild card team and then winning playoff games, not by giving a bye. This year, Tom Brady and the Buccaneers, I know it sounds silly, but they're not a lock to make the playoffs. They've lost twice now. They just lost to a Saints team, lost to the Rams. We know how good they were last year, and they got hot at the end of the year, right? They got hot. They ended up like 11-5, whatever the record was. Maybe I'm wrong in the regular season, but they're not guaranteed to go back to play in L.A. for the Super Bowl this year or in February. They have to win games. And so if they want to be the NFL and play 14, 15, 16, 17 games when they expand the playoffs to 8 or 12 or whatever, if you want to do that, then get your playoffs set the way the NFL does it as well. All right, I think that's it. We have a lot of you. I can't get to everybody, but I kind of just preaching here. From Roberto. Let's see if I have time for Roberto. Texas. Oh, let's see. Well, he's kind of getting into it with the A&M fans. He's getting into it with Texas fans. Let's see, from Gary Preach, Smokey. Facts, the college football semifinal round games have been crud. Okay, from Roberto. The SEC is overrated. LSU sucks. A&M sucks. I don't think A&M sucks. I think A&M showed a lot of moxie. You know, I know they've lost to Mississippi State. I know they got beat by Arkansas at the time. Arkansas was kind of hot and kind of one of the great stories in college football. I don't think the Aggies suck. They have a hands full tomorrow with Auburn. Tennessee, yep, they're not very good. Kentucky's kind of slowing down a little bit. Florida's down. South Carolina. That's the thing, Roberto. I think one of the things I do agree with you, and I think most people, even the most staunch SEC fans. The SEC does have some elite. There's no question. But, man, the middle of the pack sometimes gets propped up because they're a part of the SEC when they might have 6, 7, 8, 9 teams that are somewhat average on occasion, not always, but every once in a while. From Chip, and then we take a break. First the polls, then 2 in the BCS, now college football with 4, now double to 8. It will only dilute the system. Imagine Georgia versus number 8 Brigham Young. What would be the result? Imagine the outcry when the SEC gets 3 of the 8. They probably will. But you say, what happens if Georgia plays number 8 seed Brigham Young? What's wrong with that? If that, I'm not saying this year, or if it was this year. Brigham Young now has a couple of losses, though, to Baylor and Boise State. But what's wrong with that? Who was the number 16 seed in the NCAA men's basketball tournament? Was it Maryland Eastern Shore or Maryland Baltimore County, Jack? Weren't they the first time ever a 16 seed won a game against the number 1? It never happened. It may never happen if you don't give it a chance to happen, right?
It may never happen again.
But it may not happen for another 50 years.
Glorious.
It was unbelievable. Baylor, who just won the national title, they've been knocked out by Yale, by Georgia State. I know it's bad memories, but they did. We've seen Duke go down. We've seen Indiana back in the day with Bobby Knight. Richmond knocked him out back before you guys were born. And George Mason. You know, Gonzaga used to be Cinderella, right? They weren't always who they are now, one of these blue bloods, because they built their way to get there. You know why? Because they had a chance to win national titles. They're still looking for one. And Baylor kind of basically shut that down last year and hammered them. But they have a chance. Gonzaga went from being a cute little story to now one of the most respected college basketball programs in the country because they got a chance to start making the NCAA tournament by winning their tournament, their conference tournament.
And yeah, football's a different sport, but I don't understand. Why are people scared of diluting it? Like, the best teams will probably rise to the top.
Every year.
Alabama and Georgia are probably going to keep winning, but we get to see more varied matchups and give other teams a chance to have that Cinderella moment. Like, I don't see how anyone's losing when you're expanding.
No, but 8 Brigham Young against Georgia, that could be 48-3. But guess what? So, 10 of the 14 semifinal games have been 3-score games, margins or more. How about Abilene Christian beating Texas in basketball earlier this year? You mean to tell me if they would have gone by the current system that game would even happen and that anyone would give Abilene Christian a chance to play Texas at all, right? Got to take a break, Armstrong, or another call? Huh?
We can take a break and go to Scott Drew.
Let's come back. Scott Drew was in studio here yesterday. We'll have Grayson Grundhafer on Baylor recruiting, also Cody Kellner. Thanks to all of you. Please keep going with the chat room from JG. Here's the question. Why was Gonzaga given that chance? Why were they given that chance? Because they started getting better in basketball, and they started getting better recruits, and they started winning games, and they were fun to watch. And then they started to beat people in non-conference when given the chance, or some of these tournaments that happened during the holidays. And the next thing you know, guess what? They started winning tournament games, and they started making deeper runs, and then they earned where they are now. And although a lot of people wanted to hand them that national title back in the spring, this team from Waco kind of basically just bludgeoned them in that game. But they played the game. They played the game. They had a chance to play the game. From Prodigal Hill, TCU would have crushed Alabama in 2014, changed my mind. Well, I don't know about that. TCU and Baylor, you talk about two teams that still should have bad blood. They have bad blood for each other. They play tomorrow in Fort Worth. TCU and Baylor will never agree about what and who should have been representing the Big 12 in 14. Baylor beat TCU in one of the greatest games ever. Crazy, 61-58. And were left out, but the team that moved in front of them, Ohio State, went and ran the table and won it all. They got the chance, even, yes, blue blood or what. It's interesting because I always have said, this is my argument in 2014, TCU and Baylor. If you would have been TCU and you had beaten Baylor 61-58, then lost to West Virginia, and then Baylor ran the rest of the table, or you would lose a personal body part. You would be lying if you didn't think head-to-head shouldn't matter. And I know that's not the most popular thing to say. Frogs in Baylor tomorrow at 2:30. We'll talk more about that at all. Coming up next, Scott Drew, coach of the defending national champion Baylor Bears, and this is 365 Sports and Sikkim 365 Radio. Waco Custom Marketplace, your hometown grocery store with a butcher shop and a bakery. A butcher shop that has all of what you need when it comes to beef, pork, poultry, and seafood. A butcher shop that will cut the steaks you want exactly how you want. And when I want my bone-in ribeyes, I want them about 1 inch, almost and a half thick. That's very thick. And man, there's 3 different types of selection. You've got your choice and prime, and of course you also have select. If you want a tri-tip or you want brisket for the tailgating, Baylor, Oklahoma, next week. We don't know the time yet. If you want to get product for your tailgating, they have charcoal, they have pellet fuel, and they have what you want, tri-tip, brisket, and wings, sausage. You want it? They got it. Order ahead of time, go pick it up. And the bakery, fresh baked bread and kolaches every single morning. Great place, fantastic place, hometown atmosphere, family-owned store. Waco Custom Marketplace at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
It's Baylor football season, and as always, Berg Colgin Ford supports the green and gold. Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Berg Colgin Ford. It's time for team celebrations and BU touchdowns. Berg Colgin Ford is your home team when it comes to trucks and tailgates. Ford has the perfect truck for you to host a top-ranked tailgate party. Here's to a winning season for our hometown Bears. Visit us anytime at bkford.com. Buying made simple at BK Ford. Sick 'em Bears.
Masters of barbecue, kings of crazy good food, and the perfect sanctuary for sports, beer, and barbecue is Coach's XXX Smoke on Austin Avenue in downtown Waco and also on Highway 84 in McGregor. A menu filled with choices like a great offensive playbook including 3 meat combos with sides, burgers and sandwiches, wings, loaded giant spuds, and salads. Crazy wings, chicken poppers, big boy fries, and smoking quesadillas, just some of their amazing appetizers. There's Coach Big Ol' Draft Beer, or order Zach's Spicy Bloody Mary or Coach's margaritas and mimosas while watching your favorite team play. Great pecan smoked barbecue, fun atmosphere with attention to detail, including a catering menu, and we'll quote your price to fit your budget. Coach's XXX Smoke on Austin Avenue in downtown Waco and walking distance to the great places to shop and enjoy, and also the original location on Highway 84 in McGregor. Great food, great price, great fun. Eat where the locals eat.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 54-766-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
You have such a good relationship with Mark Few, and even at the final, even during the NCAA tournament, everyone was sequestered at the same hotel. You guys are playing pickleball, for 3 weeks in one of the conference rooms. And then you face each other in the title game. You guys beat him handily. What's your interaction been with him been like since that game?
Well, he's been in the game a long time. He has a lot of wisdom, and he is a friend. So I tried to give him some space right after the championship, but we've been in communication. In fact, yesterday he called, and I owe him a call back. He was updating me on his 7 a.m. pickleball game, and he's been pretty effective, and he's a heck of a pickleball player. But he's someone that has been such a great ambassador for college basketball, and been really involved in just how college basketball moves forward, and involved with the NCAA legislation and NABC, and I've always respected coaches that have given back and tried to make the game better for when they leave, and he's definitely done that. So obviously stayed in contact and continue to, and I know we'll be playing Gonzaga at some point in the future, just because I know a lot of people want to watch that game, and it's great publicity for both programs.
Maybe on the last night of the season again. That would be nice.
We're always good for that. We're always good for that. I like how you think, Jason.
Scott, I know we want to talk about this team coming up, and we've got 5 guys that played a lot last year that are, LJ didn't play as much, but 4, guys that played quite a bit that are returning: Flo Thamba, Jonathan Chamwa-Chachwa, and of course Matt Meyer and Adam Flagler. So how have they progressed this summer? What have you seen from them from a developmental standpoint? What next steps are they going to take in their game, and what do they bring to the table as that veteran leadership?
Well, one thing that's really exciting for our staff, and I briefly touched on it, and that is normally when you win a championship, you don't have a chance to go back to back, because either you don't have the talent or you don't have the experience. And we do have a chance, not saying we're the favorites or we're going to, but we have a chance, which is really exciting. It starts with the experience we have coming back. And if you don't have experience, we've seen how hard it is to win with people that don't have experience from your culture, your playbook, offense, defense. It's just hard to win with first-year guys. With us, you lose 14 years of Baylor basketball and Baylor experience and culture. So it's really important for those 5 players that you mentioned, along with Jordan Turner and Zach Loveday and Dane Danger, to help instill that, because every program is best when it's a player-led program. And to get to a player-led program, you have to know what the culture is and what the coaches want, and you have to be an extension, because we're all working together. To start with those 5, one thing they've all done is they've all worked hard. And because they worked hard, that allows them to get better. I think Adam Flagler is somebody that was really efficient and effective last year, and now obviously he's going to be in a bigger role. LJ is somebody that had a great summer prior to his injury, went to Athletes in Action and really was playing well, and excited for his progression. And then he had a foot injury that kept him out for 8 weeks, and he's still coming back. So I think just sometimes when you recover from an injury, and they say it's kind of like an ACL, you can be back in 6 to 8 months, but a lot of times it takes several weeks and months after that to get back to the confidence and just get the rust off and get through all the scar tissue and everything else. You're healed, but you're not physically and mentally back until you've had enough time to work through that. So he'll continue to improve throughout the year. And then you look at everyday John. Brings a smile to my face because he's in that gym once in the morning, once before practice, once after practice. So his skill has gotten better. When you work that hard, you get better with your skill set. He's only played the game for 4 or 5 years, so he's going to continue to get better. Flo Thamba is the only returning starter, but he's really done a good job getting in the gym in the off season. And again, you work on different areas and facets of your game. Like John and Flo have worked on their shooting, worked on their 3-point shooting, worked on other areas to improve their game. And just because you work on it, that doesn't necessarily that next year translate, but sometimes it sets it up for the following year and the year after, because what makes those two guys so elite and special is they're unbelievable ball screen guys and roll guys. And I think defensively they've both gotten better, and returning gives them another more leadership in our defensive schemes. And then Matt Myers, somebody that is instant offense, but now playing longer minutes, balancing that with being just efficient on the rebounding offensive defensive end, and not picking and choosing his shot selection because he's in there longer. And he's been more consistent. He's competed harder. So a lot of positives with those guys. I know that's a long answer and we spent time, but you said it's a 4-hour interview. So
we can go 3.5. You got to give me somewhere.
But I mean, all of them work hard, and I think we'll be better players. The one thing is the injury bug has probably gotten us. In the last couple of years, we haven't had long sustaining injuries. And Adams had a hand injury. Adams had a knee injury, so that's kept him out extended periods of time. LJ extended periods of time. Kendall's had a groin injury that's kept him out extended period of time. So normally this time of year, you kind of know what you're thinking of as far as starters and rotation. And as a staff, we can't tell you our best lineup yet because we haven't had everybody in practice enough to know. So what that means is probably the first couple weeks of the season we'll be learning as everyone else is learning, because normally your returners, you look at it at the end of the game last year, a lot of times the only person that might have been in the game was one or two of the guys. And now new roles, new opportunities. We're going to be figuring things out, and might take a little longer rather than coming out the gate just blaring like we were able to last year when you had so many returning guys and everybody was healthy. So they were on point.
Okay, that's Scott Drew. Ashley Hodge and Jason King, who love covering and watching and being a part of not just Baylor men's basketball, but college basketball. Jason's a national writer, and so does Ashley. Has the podcast they do. That's part of the Scott Drew podcast. You can find it up on SicEm365.com and also on 365 Sports. We're now joined by Grayson Grundhafer, SicEm365.com recruiting analyst, and does much more, host a 1-hour plus podcast with Craig that they do called the Bearcast. It comes out usually on Tuesday evenings. Grayson, thank you very much. Appreciate your time. Was there any kind of bump at all in either interest? I don't know commitments because their class is almost filled up. But what was the bump you think they got from that huge weekend and beating Texas in front of those prospects?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing that we probably need to talk about when you're talking about that weekend specifically is, it was just another chance for the Baylor coaching staff to kind of show that the process that they're going through, the culture that they're instilling, it's continuing to work. And I think prospects are noticing that. With the 2022 class, everyone talked about the family atmosphere and, the culture that they felt when they came to Baylor. And I think that's rubbing off on, more 2022 prospects, but also 2023 is just around the corner. And then, of course, you want to get off to a good start in the 2024 class as well, building those relationships. And I think that's the biggest thing that the staff has shown is that Dave Aranda and his staff, their culture is showing up on the field. And, when you have a game where you have to fight back against an in-state rival like Texas, they were down 21-10 and there was no quit. There was no turn around and get ran over by Texas. It was actually the opposite. Baylor turned around and ran over Texas the rest of the game. And I think that shows recruits just kind of what they're building. And I would say that's the biggest bump. I know, the 2022 prospects that were there enjoyed it. I would say there were a few, there were a couple, I guess you'd say, long shots that were on campus initially that I think have now become maybe less long shots. And then, of course, Baylor made up some momentum in the 2022 class as well, as I think they're getting closer to filling that class up a little bit more. And, it was a wild adventure for the 2023 class. They had about 25 high-end priority prospects on campus. So overall, just a great weekend, and the recruits loved it.
Let me ask you this. Does beating Texas mean anything more? Obviously, Oklahoma, they got to worry about TCU. I've never been one to get ahead. I don't care who or who's playing or what. They have to take care of TCU, or that can pop the bubble a little bit. But does beating Texas straight up ever help them win head-to-head battles with Texas?
See, I personally, based on the conversations I've had, I don't believe so. I think the bigger thing, and we've seen this over the past few years, Texas and TCU have kind of had Baylor's number. And when you have consistency of winning that game, that's when things start to turn. One game usually does not matter that much. I mean, for instance, in Central Texas area, actually, Harker Heights offensive lineman Jaden Chapman, he has an offer from Texas and Baylor. Those were his first two offers. I actually asked him exactly about that. I know you have offers from both. Does seeing Baylor win over Texas, does that matter? And he was like, it's just one game. I can't base my whole recruitment on, one game. And I think that's the sentiment that most recruits have. If it's down to the wire and it's head-to-head at the very end of a recruitment, and maybe, it's already November right now and you turn around and sign in December, maybe it matters a little bit more. But again, I think it's more about the environment, the culture, and the coaching staff that really kind of triggers those things in a recruitment, more so than just a head-to-head win.
How much of the smoke, at least smoke, on Joey McGuire affects anything, if at all?
Yeah, it really shouldn't. If you look through the recruiting class, I think, his top probably recruiting land was probably Kyler Jordan out of Lubbock Cooper. That would be interesting, I guess, if Joey were to get the Tech job. But I think, it's not just one coach with this Baylor coaching staff. And I think that's the biggest thing. They have a great recruiting department that's built great relationships with kids. All the coaches really do provide a helping hand into recruiting their areas and recruiting various positions because of that. So I don't think you're going to see a big impact if he does leave. We'll see what happens. I'm excited to see what does happen if Joey does decide to leave and where he decides to go. I think there's going to be multiple head coaching jobs open in the state of Texas, maybe Texas State, maybe North Texas. UTSA probably won't be open now, and then, of course, Texas Tech and TCU. So we'll see. There's plenty of options available, and obviously it's not every day that you have this many job openings in the state of Texas, so it might be appealing for Joey.
For those who do not get into the premium section, SicEm365.com, we're the radio show. I mentioned Grayson and Craig do the podcast, but we have other podcasts as well on many things. But for those that don't get into that sometimes maybe aren't quite caught up, where is Baylor? How many more spots do they have between now and about a month from now when we get close to National Signing Day? How many spots do they have left for the class of 2022?
Yeah, so I think on my radar right now, based on what I've seen, and obviously transfer portal, everything like that, things can definitely change. But I think that the set number that I've been working with and that I have kind of, just based off the roster and everything that I've heard, I would say it's probably 2 to 3 spots left. And, we've kind of talked about the positions in the past that they're looking at, but, I think they definitely want to take a defensive back in this class, probably a cornerback. Kind of the top target there right now is Clean Shoemaker's Kamari Terrell. He was at the Baylor game this weekend versus Texas, and I think there's a lot of positive momentum there for Baylor with Kamari Terrell. And then the other positions are kind of, I would say, best available, but I do think one of those positions will be reserved for the defensive line, and then a third spot for probably a best available, maybe someone that decommits, and then they want to add them from another class, or maybe a high-profile guy like a Neto Umeozulu who was on campus this past weekend. Maybe they're able to land someone like that. So I'm going to say 2 to 3. I'm guessing they'll probably end up taking 3 more. That's kind of the number I'm working with. And then don't be surprised if they hit the transfer portal a little bit this offseason as well, as we've seen the impact that it's already had this season with the additions they've made with Apuika, Drew Estrada, Dylan Doyle, and of course Hal Presley as well. So they'll probably look into the portal as well, because if you're not, then you're not really working as efficiently as you could be, because we've seen the impact they can make.
With Gary Patterson out at TCU, they recruit in a lot of ways, sometimes the same type of players, or they have to find the diamonds in the rough. Not that they don't get some good ones. Does that transition change at all anybody they have that Baylor would like to have?
You know, it's kind of an interesting situation, because I think most of the guys that chose TCU, you know, not most, but a lot of them had a Baylor offer and kind of chose TCU over Baylor at first go-around. And, you know, I'm not going to say that this Baylor staff won't take guys that decommit and won't take shots on guys like that, as we saw with Hal Presley, who chose Auburn and then decided to transfer to Baylor. So it can happen. But just based on what I've seen, it doesn't seem like Baylor has a ton of interest in landing another one of those guys. I think they feel good about the prospects that they have, that they're building relationships with, that haven't made a commitment decision yet. Now, I'm not going to say it's not possible, but I think at this time, it just seems likely that Baylor's probably going to go after the prospects that they've been building a relationship with over the past few months, while others were committed elsewhere.
One more thing. I know that at times we've heard, because of what's happened at LSU or USC, and Dave Aranda's tried to at least discuss it whenever asked. Sometimes people look at that as a negative when it comes to recruiting. Why would that not be a positive? I don't see him leaving Baylor. I'm not saying at some point, but I don't see that right now. And that's just not wishful thinking for Baylor fans. I just don't see that, based on when I've been able to talk to him as well in his office one-on-one. But shouldn't that also be a positive, that a coach like that is getting, Dave Aranda, getting that kind of attention, at least his name involved in some of the other blue blood schools?
Yeah, I mean, as far as fans go, that's tough because of what happened with Matt Rule. You know, fans are always going to be skeptical about what's going to happen next. And, you're having all this success. Why is this? Why could this happen? Baylor's the greatest, whatnot. That's a fan's opinion, of course. But as far as recruits go, I think it's a positive in the sense that, he's obviously wanted. He's thought of as a great coach. He's thought of as this great mind in football, which we know to be true. And we've seen that. He has a great mind in football, and he can clearly coach as well. But I would also say, I would assume that Aranda has a similar message that Matt Rule did. Because if you remember, Matt Rule was telling players, especially about the NFL draft, you're going to go and look at your options, and I'm going to do the same. And this is just kind of the relationship we have to have. Do what's best for your family, do what's best for yourself as well. And I would think Aranda probably has to think like that to some extent as well. But I would also say, I think he's probably telling recruits that, he's not going anywhere, because like you said, I don't think he is going anywhere, at least not this time around. He seems very locked in. It's only been, a year and a half really, because we're probably not going to count that COVID year. And I mean, I just think there's more for him to build and do in his first head coaching job. And I think it can be spun definitely as a positive, but for 18-year-olds, when you see a name pop up and you're going, oh no, he might not be there. I mean, that's also tough to see as well, because as much as we say you're committing to a school, a lot of times recruits do commit to a coach and to playing for a certain system and staff. It's just the business of it.
All right, I had one more question. I'm sorry. This is from the text line, the 254. To what degree, if at all, do current student athletes get involved with recruits voluntarily or assigned as one-on-one, position, home, state, etc.? Does it depend on the sport, the coaches, etc.?
Wait, okay. So are you talking like a student recruiting a player?
No, I'm talking about, let's say somebody, obviously when there's visits, football players host, right? Guys who are on campus.
Yes.
Yeah. Voluntarily assigned as one-on-one, position players with position prospects, someone who's from a certain state, let's say outside of Texas or an area of Texas, etc.
Gotcha. Yes, absolutely. So, yeah, and this has actually been, I guess, it's really area if you know someone, and then position. It kind of goes in that order to some degree. If you're from the Austin area, you're probably going to get a host that's from Austin on your visit. Same with If you're in the Houston or Dallas area, it's the same thing. I mean, examples would be, I think, when Lorando Johnson was on his visit, I believe Jalen Petrie was his host. So, they both play the star position. I think, like, James Lynch was Jalen Ellis' host, even though, obviously, his connection with Sean Bell was his main host as well. But, yes, there's plenty of stories like that, and it absolutely does help to kind of know, who's playing your position and various things like that. I think Jeremy Evans, or Jeremy Patton, some people know him as, in the 2022 class, like his host was Terrell Bernard, because he's probably going to play at the will linebacker. And also, it's Terrell Bernard. It's an all-conference guy, getting to learn and kind of hear from him and his experience at Baylor. It's huge, and it definitely plays a role in recruitment, especially on those official visits. That's when it really, really happens the most.
Thank you, Grayson. Enjoy the weekend. Grayson Grunhafer, Sikkim365.com, recruiting coordinator and analyst for our site. Also the podcast with Craig on Tuesdays, the Bearcast. When we come back, Cody Kellner, he breaks down some of the data, stats, and so much more when it comes to college football rankings and such. A little bit later on in this hour, Bobby Williams, the AD at Sam Houston State, on the story involving Conference USA. And we'll have former Baylor quarterback J.J. Joe. We're rolling. And this is Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. IdealMRI.com, Dr. Rob Maxey. We told everybody on the site, we're going to have a radio show. Back in the spring of 2020, he contacted me directly. I want to be a sponsor of your show. And Dr. Rob Maxey, someone that IdealMRI.com, who I had endorsed on the radio show before. He jumped in right away, head first, didn't blink, has been with us since day one. In fact, right behind I guess it would be my left shoulder, is the Ideal MRI graphic and logo. Here's what they can do. They can find out what hurts so much, whether it's a torn rotator cuff, a torn ligament in your knee, whatever it might be, somewhere in your body. They have a state-of-the-art technology MRI machine that's as good as it gets. And on top of that, they're going to save you money. IdealMRI.com is $497 for an MRI every single time or less. $497 or less. They'll help you with insurance claims as well to help get that, maybe save even more money. I've been inside their machine, state-of-the-art technology, and I'll tell you what, I can get claustrophobic on occasion in an MRI machine. I have before. The Texans specialists they have make it such a relaxing thing. It is not a problem, even for me. IdealMRI.com. Find out what hurts so much. If your doctor, orthopedic surgeon, or other ask you for an MRI or want to get an MRI, or they say we need to get an MRI, you tell them about IdealMRI.com, because they can help save you money, a bunch of money, and also make sure they find out what hurts so much at IdealMRI.com.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfection pizza. Like loads of premium toppings like crispy Old World pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, and fresh sliced veggies pizza. That's Marco's Pizza. Visit marcos.com and make any moment better. And with 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Hey guys, sports betting season is in full force with football season entrenched and the NBA and NHL underway and the Major League Baseball playoffs. You need a sports book with integrity and longevity like BetUS.com. BetUS has been pioneers in the sportsbook industry for almost 3 decades, thriving and paying their loyal customer base. That's BetUS.com, and they have loads of bonuses like ours at BetUS.com. 125% bonus on promo code SICKM125 or a 200% bonus if you use crypto on promo code SICKM200. BetUS, known as America's favorite sportsbook. NFL, college football, MLB, UFC, PGA Golf. They've got it all at BetUS.com. So go to BetUS.com today and use promo code SICK'EM125 or SICK'EM200. That's BetUS.com, promo code SICK'EM125 or SICK'EM200.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, everyone. This is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like mortgage lending, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Don's Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don's Humidor in the Townwood Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
And now the short pitch to Smith, and Smith spins out of it. And Smith inside the 15, looking for the corner, and gets it. Touchdown, Bears. Keandre Colburn whipped at the line of scrimmage, and Smith sped off for 32 yards and a score.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now, here's David Smoak.
We will hear from Bobby Williams, the athletic director at Sam Houston State, here in this hour. J.J. Joe, quarterback at Baylor for years, and now their color analyst on radio. He'll be a part of it, but right now joined by someone we got to know when he was in diapers, as far as what he's doing now. Cody Kellner, a PhD in research and college football statistician, joins us on 365 Sports and Sikkim 365 Radio. Cody, I remember when you first started, you kind of were banging on doors like a salesman, and you've been able to now kind of get your foot in the door. What are your thoughts about how college football right now and where the BCS, my God, that's almost a three-letter word. It is a three-letter word. How the college football playoff standings are being handled?
Well, hey, David, first of all, thanks for having me on. And no, that's a great question. You know, it seems like every year has always been a little bit different with the college football playoff in terms of the selection. I get it. There's a different committee that kind of rotates almost every year. I think a couple of people come in and off. But one thing that's common is how the Power 5 teams are evaluated. You know, I know it's based a lot on strength of schedule. I did the CFP mock selection about 4 years ago. And I got to see how they looked at all the different metrics and how they do all the rounds of voting. And it's very interesting how it's all set up, because what they do is they look at the teams in small clusters of 6, and they take the top 3 from there, and then they rank those 3, and then they reevaluate the rest, and they just go through like 6 or 7 rounds. But nevertheless, you know, I was pretty surprised that Cincinnati was at number 6, considering they had a big quality win over at Notre Dame. I really thought they would have been in the top 4, such as they are in the AP poll. But you know, over the last 7 years, it just really seems like the Power 5 teams really they do get a lot more credit than the Group of Five program.
So you look at what you do and you crunch these numbers. You mentioned Cincinnati. We had Dave Bartu on earlier this week, and he said, doesn't matter. They're screwed because SMU and Houston are not in the top 25. They don't have another game, even though if they beat SMU or whoever they have down the stretch, it won't matter. Your thoughts about the way you look at that as well?
Well, I'm a voter in the Super 16 poll, and I actually voted Cincinnati at number 3. I did put Alabama ahead of Cincinnati. I think when you look at Alabama, I know when you look at their resume, ironically, if you look at Alabama's resume in a certain way, it almost looks similar to Baylor. They've played just as many teams with a winning record, played as many bowl-eligible opponents, and so forth. But, with Alabama, it is really the eye test. They lost that game at Texas A&M, and I would argue that I think a lot of good teams in the country would have lost at Kyle Field that night. Not just Alabama, but I think a good number of teams would have lost that game as well to the Aggies. But no, he's right. If Cincinnati wins out, unfortunately, I would like to see them get in, but I just really don't see how there's a path. Right now, there's 4 undefeated teams in 4 power conferences. There's never been a year where a team has gone undefeated in a Power 5 conference and missed the college football playoff. And so as of right now, we're on path to make that happen. If Wake Forest, Oklahoma, Georgia, and Michigan State continue to win out, I really don't see what would stop those 4 from making the playoff.
But, we see that every year if so-and-so wins out or XYZ wins out. But in the end, Cody, that doesn't happen very often, does it?
And that's a great question. It seemed like to me in the BCS years, we had more chaos on conference championship weekend than what we do now. It seemed like the CFP, at least in my opinion, has been kind of lucky from a dramatical standpoint in that the teams that needed to win on conference championship weekend normally have in the CFP era. I know the CFP gets a lot of criticism for selecting the same teams year in and year out. It seems like Ohio State, Clemson, Alabama. But I would also argue that when you look at the conference championships over the last 7 years in the CFP era, there's not much parity in the conferences. Except for the Pac-12, there's been some parity there. But Oklahoma's won the Big 12, Clemson, ACC, Alabama has kind of traded off with Georgia and some other teams, and Ohio State mostly from the Big 10. So when you look at the CFP rankings, a lot of that's driven by the same teams winning the conference championships year in and year out. But I think if we have some upsets on conference championship weekend, that may change that a little bit.
How much have people from when you first started, and you can give everybody your story, I remember you used to be on with John, and then we had you on a couple of different times, and then things have changed a little bit. But how much do people now take what you do and give you a chance to be a part of the equation? You mentioned the Super 16 poll. I get that every single weekend, and it usually, to me, makes more sense to me than even the AP or the coaches poll.
Well, it's interesting. It seemed like my experience of getting to know people and being in different situations has slowly evolved over the last 20 years. Back in 2001, when I was a junior in college, I wanted to create a ranking system and be part of the BCS. And it seemed like when I got going with that, that's when the BCS ended and then the college football playoff came into play. But some things that helped me out was I was doing some independent research about 8 years ago, and I was doing some research on the BCS standings, and I found about 75 discrepancies in BCS media guides. So I contacted the BCS. I'm like, hey, I found all these discrepancies. Here's the data I found. And they went back and they double-checked it, and they said, all your numbers were right. And so that kind of got me a foot in the door with helping the BCS and the CFP out with like their record book and helping out the championship game and doing different types of research. I do research on the attendance and viewership for the New Year's Six games. So I've been fortunate with that. I've gotten on with the college with the Cotton Bowl Classic. Do all the game notes and records for all the college games at AT&T, and that kind of opened the door for me to get in with the SEC. I help out in Atlanta every year with the notes and records during the SEC championship. So those opportunities and getting to talk with different people as to kind of what they look at with the rankings and things like that, and I coupled that with what I learned back when I did the CFP mock selection, whereas I really don't do my computer ratings anymore. I do more resume type information, where I just like throw out information like how many times Georgia has defeated a team with a winning record and where that ranks among other teams in the country, or bowl eligible teams, or the CFP top 25. So I really just try to put objective information out there that really can't be disputed, and I try to give certain teams and conferences things that they can go and brag about, and maybe say, hey, this is why our team to be ranked higher than someone else's. So I'm trying to give all the fans in different conferences bragging points about their respective teams.
Well, I tell you what, you've done a really nice job to be right in the mix. Cody, I think what we'll do is we'll bring you back, not every week, but we'll bring you back between now and the final standings that come out to decide the semifinals. We appreciate your time. And Cody_Kellner is how you can find Cody on Twitter. It's worth it to look at that Twitter feed or be a part of it and follow it. Cody Kellner, thank you for your time. Armstrong, we're going to break here. We're going to go to Bobby Williams. We're going to call Sam Houston State Athletic Director Bobby Williams, and then also J.J. Joe. Weaving in and out, Jack McKenzie here. Armstrong Sims is here as well. And as the story was, the Conference USA, as we mentioned, with an opportunity here to add teams to their conference with Jacksonville State, with Liberty, to New Mexico State, and Sam Houston State. And at Sam Houston State, Athletic Director Bobby Williams joins me, David Smoak, on 365 Sports. Bobby, thanks for your time. What a whirlwind!
David,
what a whirlwind we've been in, huh? Since late July, when the Texas and Oklahoma story. Did you ever think that story could impact Sam Houston State?
Really didn't, because we dealt with this last year during the pandemic when we made our transition from the Southland to the WAC. And I thought we were in our conference, for long term, and then didn't realize that what happened with those two schools would eventually lead to us having that opportunity. So it's been a crazy time. It's a wild time in college athletics, and I look forward to it settling down a little bit. But we're looking forward to the opportunity of going to Conference USA, and it's a great move for us, we feel like.
How about the fact you've had to weave, and I'm an SFA grad, and you still came on the show despite that, and we invited you on the show, and we've had the football coach who's done great in basketball as well. So, in all due seriousness, so you join the Western Athletic Conference and SFA among others, and now here you are to the Conference USA. How many different types of logos are you trying to figure out which one's the right one right now?
Yeah, I think that's a challenge right now, but that's probably the toughest part about this, because I've been at Sam Houston for 40 years coaching and an administrator, and I know how important that rivalry is and the Battle of Piney Woods, and that's a tough part. I see it probably evolving to a little different way of doing it. We've always made moves together, but here at Sam Houston, I know 15 years ago we began looking at this type of move and positioning ourselves to be ready for it, and improving our success, improving our financial aspect of it. And you never know when the opportunity will come. And then it happened. And unfortunately, one of the ramifications is how do you determine moving forward playing your strong rival? I mean, that rivalry goes all the way back to the Capitol, where the two statues are of the two men back in the 1800s. And so that's the only challenging aspect about this move that we're not excited about. But I think some way Ryan and I can find a way to continue that rivalry.
Well, you can stop beating us up in football, by the way. And I know basketball, Kyle and SFA have had a pretty good run as well. But
yeah, they sure have.
So do you feel like if a team decides, like you have, or have you done before and other teams have done before, we're seeing now conferences almost with a backlash. Okay, you want to leave, you can't win a conference title. How difficult is that give and take right now?
It is. It's challenging because there's a lot of hurt feelings in moving forward, but we've always tried to handle it as professionally as we could, and I think we have. We've been able to still keep that focus for our student athletes to have a chance at winning a championship because that's our experience here at Sam Houston. I know last year when we moved all 17 sports to the spring to compete while others were trying to play and doing some things in the fall, when the NCAA moved that championship, especially in football, to the spring, that's a no-brainer for us. Our student-athlete experiences have an opportunity to play at the highest level for championships. That's always a concern. We can't control some things, but we're going to do everything we can in this movement to make sure our student-athletes, especially our juniors and seniors, that they continue to have that opportunity.
Bobby Williams, the athletic director of Sam Houston State, they're joining Conference USA. I have not read the press release because I've been on the air. What is the timeline? How is this all going to work out, Bobby?
Well, we've got a 2-year, period that we've got to begin to get ready, and we're looking at June of 2023, and then be fully eligible for all of our other sports but football to get football for FBS level by the 24 season.
Is that expansion of your stadium, or what does that mean?
We've got the interesting part, people are asking me, how's this going to change some things? We already had some plans in place. We just finished a $15 million renovation of our field house,
right?
A $15 million renovation of our basketball facility, Johnson Coliseum. We're building a new tennis complex. We've got to improve our press box situation, but we were going to have to do that even at the FCS level. We need to improve some other facilities as well. So all that's been in the works to continue to do that. But we also need to expand some new revenue streams from that aspect, because, the recruiting part is what people miss in this, with the transfer portal the way it is, and transfers being immediately eligible. We've got to do a great job of positioning ourselves to not only recruit student athletes, but retain them. And anything that we do, facility-wise or conference brand-wise, and our success is going to help us do that. So that's one of the main reasons why when we had this opportunity, that we need to make sure we move forward so that we can retain student athletes and recruit quality student athletes.
It's amazing. We've seen so much, Bobby, and thanks for your time today in a busy day. So much has happened. The NIL has happened. The transfer portal's happened. We've seen now realignment explode, and on occasion we've seen that before. Can you, and to be an AD, is it exciting and yet sometimes a little bit nerve-wracking right now?
Yeah, I've been fortunate that my dad was a coach. I played football at Rice and then been coaching here at Sam Houston, been here 40 years. I think the last 3 years, I've never seen anything like it. None of us have. You don't have any training for it. It is stressful. There's no doubt about it, because when you work at a place like Sam Houston that I have 40 years, you want to make sure you don't do anything to put it in a bad situation. And I think that's the biggest challenge for us ADs is making sure that we keep our university and our athletic programs moving forward, and not put us in a bad choice or a decision that hampers us for a long time.
One of the things that, and again, Bobby Williams of Sam Houston State, they're joining the Conference USA summer of 2023, which is kind of when we think the timeline changes, perhaps for the Big 12 with Brigham Young and others, and or Texas and Oklahoma. What would you say to someone, because you've seen this, that where we've seen teams being added soon to the Big 12, and there's like even some of those, I don't want to say blue bloods, but so like, they can't, no way, they can't do that. What would you say to them to underestimate someone that wants to be and wants to get better and wants to join, whether it's the big boys or the big boys at the next level in college football?
Well, that's kind of the way it is. I think as we are as Texans, as Americans, we want to compete at the highest level. We want to keep moving forward and improving our situation. And I think it's anyone that says that, you shouldn't do that or not try to make yourself better. I don't understand that. I never have. Playing football at Rice, competed against the best back in those days, and even was part of teams that beat LSU and A&M and Arkansas, Houston, TCU, those type of things. We didn't win a lot, but I like competing and trying to be better and trying to make sure you have that happen. We've done that here at Sam Houston. We've kept moving up. From when I got here as an assistant coach, we were in the NAIA, and we moved up to Division I, and then now we're defending national champions. Mm-hmm. That's what you should aspire to do. The competitor in you should want to be better and want to continue to play against the best and try to make yourself as good as you can be.
Not everybody that's getting into other conferences that are larger or better or bigger have won national titles. Do you think what you did earlier this year, and I know you've been knocking on that door, do you think what you did this year helped?
Oh, no doubt. It elevated our brand, not only in this state, but nationally. And I think, that's everything, everybody that I've talked to in the last few weeks, that was a big part of that, is just that recognition and wanting to be around success and seeing that we are committed to being the best that we can be. And if you look, even with today's announcement, the top 4 winningest FCS programs the past 10 years, North Dakota State, us, James Madison, and Jacksonville State, I believe 3 of us are looking to try to improve and move up to that next level.
Bobby, thank you. I know it's been a busy day, an exhilarating day, and proud of Sam Houston State for what you've done, what you're doing, and also what you're about to accomplish as well. Thanks for your time, sir.
Thanks, David, so much. And I won't hold it against your SFA. My cousin's an SFA grad, too. And my wife's uncle was interim president over there. So we have a great deal of respect for the Lumberjacks.
So did you take any of those, or did you get knocked out of any wills or anything like that? I mean, you got to, we can't have that happen, right? We got to.
That's right. Not yet.
No, I'll tell you this, and I want to say this to you on the air, because I have a lot of fans, listeners or viewers who are Sam Houston State fans as well. I have great respect for what you guys have done. It's a huge rivalry. You know that. Sometimes it's bitter and it can be pretty angry. But what you've done and what SFA is trying to do in some ways as well, I'm proud. I'm proud to have known when everything was back in the day, So keep going and good luck going forward, buddy.
You bet. Thank you so much. Good talking to you
Bobby,
as well.
Yeah, you too. Bobby Williams, athletic director, Sam Houston State. What a day it's been for them. So they're in the Southland Conference. Then they end up going to the Western Athletic Conference with a few other schools, including my alma mater, SFA, and others. And now in a couple of years, they're headed to the Conference USA. Good for Sam Houston State. When we come back, rapid fire, J.J. Joe, former Baylor quarterback, and also J.J. Joe, Baylor radio color analyst, will join us. And this is 365 Sports and Sikkim 365 Radio.
I hate my job, but I don't mind getting up in the morning. I dread each day, but I can't wait to get out of bed. You ask me why, and what I'll say to you is true. Well, you can get breakfast tacos at Rudy's Barbecue. Scrambled eggs and brisket, they ain't fooling around. Salsa drap, son, they're the best in town. Barbecue for breakfast, yes, it's true. Put a smile on your morning at Rudy's Barbecue. Next in line. When it comes to me and my money, I know the way it should be. I need a partner I can count on. That's Genco and me.
Refinance your vehicle today at Genco with rates as low as 1.69% for 48 months and have 90 days of no payments. Refinancing can lower your payment, so you pay less for your car. Apply online and get an additional 0.1% off our already low rate. Thank you, Genco. And don't forget, your vote counts. Vote today for your local school to win $1,500 with Genco's School Spirit Competition. For more information, go to gencofcu.org.
Annual percentage rate subject to change without notice. Subject to credit approval, membership eligibility, and loan policies. NCUA Equal Housing Lender.
They're people I trust. They treat me like family. My money, my future, my credit union. Genco.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from select, choice, or prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strips, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Brad Boozer, Boozer Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. I've seen people walk in there. First of all, you have so much to show, whether necklaces, bracelets, rings. You have the watches. You have numerous great watches as well. You really have pretty much everything, don't you, when it comes to jewelry?
That's correct. Kind of a one-stop shop and all. And the fact that we have the 2 jewelers on staff, the repairs we can do, the fixing of your jewelry, and the remaking of any jewelry has really set us apart from anybody else.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
This segment on Baylor Athletics on Sikkim 365 Radio is brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac. Learn more at richardcarr.com.
There are some stories in college football about some players who have some off-the-field issues, or at least they need to kind of get through some things and figure out what's happening. Ohio State has suspended their quarterback, Jack Miller, impaired driving arrest, the redshirt freshman. That's that one story. And I mentioned earlier the story about Georgia linebacker, Adam Anderson, attorney for the star linebacker, calling accusations of rape unfounded. And so watch for that story. He's their starting linebacker and very much highly involved when it comes to what he does with sacks and so much more. It just seems like this creeps in. You know, every once in a while, 2 or 3 different teams have something, whether it's that sexual assault or violence or whatever, and it's part of college football. It's part of life. And so we'll see how some of that works out as well. J.J. Joe, former Baylor quarterback, Baylor Radio color analyst, joins us on 365 Sports, Sikkim 365 Radio. You know what? Last week, you said Baylor was going to have to take Texas's best shot, and they were going to try to get deep a couple of times, and they did once. And you hit that right on the nail in the head. But, JJ, what did you think about how Baylor did not panic, did not try to do things out of character, and they just methodically came back to take the lead and win the game?
Smoak, I was really impressed, and thanks for having me on. It's good to be on with you the day before we have to face the Frogs. But I thought Coach Aranda's group did a fantastic job. This team really has taken on his personality. I think Gary is very similar to Coach Aranda in a sense. Just kind of demeanor wise. But I think the team, they just showed they're a veteran team. I think, Smoak, the more we look at it, and I really didn't pay much attention to this, we talked about how experienced the defense was with all the young men coming back. But offensively, if you look at their 2 deep, I mean, they're just full of veteran players who, most of whom were here, maybe didn't play a huge role, but most who were here in 2019 when Baylor went to the conference championship game.
Yeah, I wondered, and I know that what Aranda's done, he gets the credit along with his staff right now, but I wonder how much of that tested, that mettle, that whatever you want to call it, that they learned also from 2019. It seems like that's still prevalent.
It really is, because, I mean, you just look at the defense and just a lot of seniors and juniors, and then Raleigh's a 6th-year guy, and you just see all of it up and down the roster. And then you look on offense, you start thinking about it. Yes, we got a couple transfers in Grant Miller and Gall. But a lot of young men that are playing quite a bit were here, as Drew Estrada wasn't, I'm sorry. But yeah, they've been tested. They've seen a lot of close games in 19. Last year was a really tough year. And I just think the demeanor of this team is they don't panic. Aranda's the right coach for them. And last Saturday, they put the fear in UT, and you saw it when he went for it on 4th and 11. He knew that if he gave the ball to Baylor, that what was going to happen was going to happen, and that's what happened. So it's good to see these guys play. As a
quarterbacks make mistakes. They also throw picks, and sometimes there's things that don't go well. What was the how Gary Bohannon reacted to a couple of bad throws that could have been critical and still kept firing away, and he didn't just go into a shell.
Yeah, I'd really like to see that. 'Cause I think early in the season, that really would have damaged his psyche a little bit. Not that I'm concerned about how he thinks, but I mean, Gary he's a hard worker. He's a grinder. He's a young man that wants to do his best. He doesn't want to be the reason the team is not successful. And a lot of times you can over-process and over-analyze and think you have to be perfect. And I think early on, when I think he had a fumble early in the season, I think that messed with him. He really went into a shell in the sense that he didn't want to take any more risk. Well, we saw the growth in just a mere 7 games or however many games later. He threw those 2 picks in the first half, and it was just really a mistake where he stared down his receiver. We got to remember he was only in his 8th game starting, so he made those mistakes, but he bounced back, man, didn't panic, and just kept playing.
What is the challenge this week of playing a team that is a wounded animal, which you just did with Texas, going through a coaching transition of someone that they loved, although he maybe did not quite have a fully engaged team so far this year? What are the challenges this week with Patterson, not the head coach at TCU?
Smoak, it's a trap game. It is the quintessential trap game, and it's the perfect trap game for TCU. And I played in one of these before, and you just played the big UT who were struggling, but that's the big game for Baylor. And then on the back end of this, you got OU coming in, and everybody wants to talk. Not in the coaching staff, not on the team, but all of your friends and everybody wants to get ready for, the OU game. So the players, they're human. They're young. So when they're outside of the facility, they hear it. But the coach has done a great job of trying to focus them. We'll be able to tell on Saturday if they're focused. That has, don't get me wrong. If they're unsuccessful, I don't think it will be because they're unfocused. But we'll be able to see how they play. And I've been there. I've been there. We played, my sophomore year, we were ranked high in the country. We played U of H, which is a big game. We had a Rice game sandwiched between U of H and A&M. And Rice bit us. And Rice was one of those teams that always played us well, no matter how good our record was and how bad theirs was. They always were just a thorn in our side. At TCU, if we're honest, they beat us, in the last, 10 years, maybe 8 times?
Yeah, I've said this before throughout this week about Gary Patterson and the decision he was made to not continue. You would think he would have done everything possible, including losing a body part,
right.
a body part to play and coach against Baylor at least one more time and try to knock them off their pedestal.
Hey, if Briles was here, I 100% agree with you.
Yeah. Oh my Lord. So do you feel like with the change with Patterson not there, even though he's been a part of some practices this week, with Meacham and what he likes to do on offense, and Duggan, we don't know, and Zach Evans, it doesn't look good with whether he'll play or not. Do they just come out and just say, what the hell, let's wing it?
I think so, man. They have 5 losses. They're 3-5. And the one thing I know Jerry wants to do, Jerry Keel, Coach Keel, he wants to try to get this worm turned and at least try to see if they can reach for that bowl game. And Smoak, I really think that Meacham had the governor on him with Patterson on the sideline. Patterson is just ultra conservative offensively. He let the reins go at 14 and all that. But I think with the reins being kind of loosened, I'm not sure how Coach Keel will play it. I think Meacham, with those big receivers on the edge, a veteran quarterback, maybe Chandler Morris plays some. I think and Zach Evans may be out. So, Smoak, I expect for this guy, man, I wouldn't be surprised if they threw it 35, 40 times. I just really wouldn't, because they got size advantage. They have a young man out there. I think it's Quentin Johnson from Temple that's really good.
Yep.
So I expect for them to really try to go after us. When you play our defense, they're hard to run on.
Yeah, and so is this one of those you don't give them anything, a gift? You don't ever want to do that, whether you're going to beat a team 56-6 or a team that might be the wounded animal or a team that you're not favored to beat. Is this one of those where you don't want to give them any glimpse, any kind of freebie? You cannot give them a chance to say, hey, no, we're pretty good here. We have a chance in this one. I know TCU thinks they can win the game and focus to win the game, but is this one of those where you just cannot just throw up on yourself early?
Smoak, I agree, but here's my call. I think early there will be a storm from this team that Baylor probably, is kind of similar maybe to UT or, kind of coming out of the gate. And Baylor's going to have to hold on. I think, and this is the perfect team because Baylor has been kind of one of those resilient teams. But I think the storm is going to come. These young men will be emboldened. They want to prove that, hey, look, without Coach Patterson or, hey, we're upset that he's gone, whatever the reason, they're going to play and try to play for Coach Kill, and we're going to get everything. And I think what beats this team, TCU, is that you have to, in I would say late second through the middle third, have to show them that they're probably not going to win. So I think if you hold on, Smoak, this is going to be a third quarter game. This game will probably be determined in the third quarter on what Baylor does. If Baylor starts showing momentum and really looking like, okay, we are better, which I really believe Baylor is, TCU will go away. If TCU is hanging at all, say 6, 7, 8, 9 minutes into the third, this will be a one score game. At the end, last possession probably wins.
Well, you're right about trap games. With what they come off the win against the Texas, no matter if they were struggling, and then Oklahoma on the horizon. And we discussed it. I mean, we look at fans are talking about game day. I think you got to win tomorrow first before anything worried about what happens whatever weekend it is. And if you don't win tomorrow, you can forget about, a lot of things because that can go out the window with a loss, and especially with a team that you should beat if you just take care of your business. Hey, man, thanks for your time, JJ. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Smoak. You have a good one.
JJ Joe, former Baylor quarterback. It's been great to have JJ and Ricky on quite a bit throughout the year to give us their impact or insight, former players at Baylor and also a part of the broadcast as well. It is 4:44. When we come back, we're going to, let's see, I think we have that. We finally have an opening again. Get back to the chat room, the text line, 254-339-1122. I got a couple of text messages sent to me that were from last night or from when the podcast of our show replays, and from Tennessee, a couple of different texts, different people, also from the 419 in Ohio. I'll try to get to those and even get your feedback on the questions and comments as well. Armstrong Sims and Jack McKenzie run the mothership here at Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, the 2021 Ram brand, just received first place in the prestigious J.D. Power's Initial Quality. Dodge brand finished second to Ram among 2021 Jeep Gladiator, rated also the Jeep Gladiator, rated among the first all midsize trucks. So there's a lot going on right now at Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat. Right now, celebrating the Black Friday sales event. Right now, bringing the first truck brand to take the top spot overall. And as I mentioned, that quality study with J.D. Power, 2021 Ram 1500 Quad Cab, the Lone Star. You can get total values up to $7,250 or 2.9% for 72 months, plus a $2,000 bonus cash. Right now at Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat. Here's one more offer, an opportunity as well from them. Black Friday sales event. Come see the beautiful, elegant third-row seat Jeep Grand Cherokee L in stock at Alan Samuels, the 2021 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo, or limited total values of $3,500 or 0% for 72 months going on right now with no payments for 90 days. And first responders get an extra $500 cash as well. Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat with Ted Teague and the great staff, Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
New cars and trucks are coming. New car inventory is low, but GM just announced they will release a steady flow of vehicles through the fall. Now is the time to get on Richard Carr's inbound vehicle list. Choose your inbound vehicle, get on the list, and get your car or truck first. Call Richard Carr Motors or go online to choose your inbound vehicle today. Go to richardcarr.com for details.
At Richard Carr, we give you more.
Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness continues to add more weapons to your getting or staying in shape arsenal with 8 brand new treadmills ready for you to run or walk a mile or 2 or 10. And with the explosion of interest in pickleball with instructors Joe Rosa and Jody Thurman, with more courts available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with large flat screens stretched across the weight room with Wi-Fi available, their own app to enjoy news, business, weather, or sports. Everywhere you look, there's energy, passion, and commitment. New touchless water fountains outside of each locker room and all the locker rooms with showers, sauna, and whirlpool. Upgraded PA system throughout the world-class tennis courts with a youth academy led by pro Britt Coleman. Fitness and tennis merchandise available and a tanning bed. I promise you'll look and feel better. You just need to walk through the front door. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with personal trainers Christy London and Randall Corley. 40-plus group exercise classes, including twice-a-week boot camp. It's time to react today, not tomorrow. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
Grant Dideker, under the umbrella of Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, McLennan County agent, but you yourself represent your own business, what you do with customers. What separates you think, from everyone else?
I'll educate, let them buy. I'll sit down, go over all the coverages with them, go over everything, make sure they understand it. In case they need to use it, they know what they have, fill in any holes that they may have, or take any excess away that they may not need.
Your personality, who you are to customers, some people have different personalities. How would you describe yourself?
My dad was a coach and teacher. My mom was a teacher, for a few decades each. And again, I teach, educate, let them buy. And, there's no dumb questions. My dad always said.
Grant Dideker, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, McLennan County agent. If someone wants to contact you, just straight on your cell phone?
Yep, 254-265-0442.
Grant Dideker, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, a McLennan County agent.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Are you a Sikkim 365 super fan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at Sikkim365.com.
All right, here we go. 450, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Baylor today unveiled the plan and the framework as the Board of Regents affirmed the framework for the next 5 years, including the Illuminate program, including additional details on 2 athletic facilities, football ops building and men's and women's basketball program pavilion. Moving forward on those 2 athletic capital projects, the board approved the naming of the Fudge Football Operations Center, day-to-day operations for Baylor football. That's a big-time game changer for Baylor. They've got nice facilities. They have beautiful facilities in athletics, but you got to get better and better. The Fudge Center named after Christy and Jeremy Fudge, Parker, Texas. And then in addition to that, approved $6 million to begin phase 1 of what will be a $65 million, 105,000 square foot state-of-the-art facility along the Brazos River, and that's the football operations building. So there's still work to be done. They also approved $1.2 million for additional design, pre-construction, and the naming of facility in the basketball pavilion that will be announced later at some point. So, huge moment for Baylor Athletics with what they get when it comes to the new football ops building. Moving forward now, there was some of those delays. You could say COVID, you could say a lot of things, but also, you know, it's hard to go say, hey, we're going to spend a bunch of money, even with donations coming in and all that other, and names of people who want to put a lot of money into this to get their names on buildings or be offered the names on the buildings. But things kind of slowed down, and it was kind of a frustrating thing, but you could understand because of what happened in 2020 and even part of 2021. All right, the chat room. From Sam Kim, I'm still of the mind a 16 playoff is the Goldilocks. Watch the rest of the season play out. 6 to 8 teams will be fine. First step beyond the 4-team format. From JG, 12 max. From Eric, Sam, no passion you had. Oh, this is from Eric saying that a mistake by Oklahoma and Texas joining the SEC. Only Baylor earned the right. Let's see here. JG, I have a bad feeling. Houston loses to USF, South Florida. Houston ruined their season for quite some time now. Also, it's a nice win for Houston with that kickoff return. Was nuts to end that game against SMU. There's still kind of some discussion about some of the teams in the Big 12 and the Pac-12. Stop. Please, it's not happening. Well, you never say never. Mike Tomlin finally did, or not finally, but did. But the mention, 20-plus schools now have changed or will be changing conferences since that story popped on Texas and Oklahoma in late July that rocked the college athletics and college football landscape. 254-339-1122. If you have something, we'd love to hear from you. But I've been trying to get to this story. ESPN.com. From January of 2010 through January of this year, public universities in FBS, that's the Division I, Power 5, and all Group of 5, FBS conferences, listen to this number, paid out more than $533.6 million in what would be dead money to coaches and assistant coaches in football, men's and women's basketball. This was an analysis, financial records by ESPN through the state open record laws. The total does not include tens of millions of dollars in severance payments to coaches who have been fired or resigned since then. Head football coaches at Georgia Southern, LSU, TCU, Texas Tech, Akron, UConn, and USC, we now know those jobs are open. An example, Ed Orgeron, dismissed last month, owed $16.9 million over 18 installments between now and December 2025. This number of $533 million in dead money does not even include anything since late January. Auburn University, from 2017 to 2019, negotiated football coach Gus Malzahn a 7-year, $49 million extension. He was fired in 2020. Auburn, the buyout of more than $21 million. Auburn at 30, now listen to, these are the culprits. These are the ones that have been hit the most about dead money. Dead money, I always refer to this when it comes to the NFL. You sign players, you cut players, the way the salary cap works. Yeah, there's certain guarantees, there's certain roster. You can get rid of a high contract with certain timelines or whatever. But dead money in the NFL is players who don't play for you, who are gone. You've cut, released, traded, or they're retired. And money you continue to pay them because of the way the salary cap works, guaranteed money, bonuses, etc. Auburn, $31.2 million in dead money over this 10, 11-year period. Nebraska, $25.8 million, and that won't include what happens with Scott Frost. Texas, $21.5 million. Mississippi, Ole Miss, $20.4 million. Kansas, $20 million. It surely isn't men's basketball because Bill Self hasn't gone anywhere, and that's in the football program. It's a bunch of money. Auburn and Nebraska, Texas, Ole Miss, and Kansas have all had $20+ million in dead money. Now, I know there's some of those programs, like Texas can breathe, sneeze, burp, fart, $20 million. Brewster will sign that themselves. Nebraska can't get themselves too involved in that. They've got money, and they're getting a lot of money being a part of the Big Ten. But they're about to have to maybe eat another 15 or whatever million, 16 million with Scott Frost if that doesn't work out. And they play at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning and might give up 60 to Ohio State. Power 5 programs included in the survey: ACC, Big 10, Big 12, Pac-12, SEC, accounted for 88% of the $533 million in dead money. The SEC by themselves, the conference, $151 million of that $533 million in dead money. The Pac-12 had $114 million dead money. The Big 10, $106.8 million in dead money. The Big 12, $58.8 million in dead money. And the ACC, $40 million in dead money. Among the money that was dead money, among the money that people are getting paid, installments or whatever, or just buyouts, of the $533.6 million, $354.9 million of that number, football coaches. Men's basketball, $103.5 million. Women's basketball coaches, $12.5 million in severance pay, buyouts, whatever term you want to use. That's nuts. $500 million. But then again, does that surprise you? Does it surprise me? No. I didn't know if it was $288 million or $900 million. I just knew that was a big, big number, and it surely is. When we come back, the 5 o'clock hour, we've been rolling since we started this morning or this afternoon at 3 o'clock. Paul Catalina and Craig Smoak. Some of you have asked. Right now, both of them having an opportunity to just chill a little bit. When we come back, we still have more to come. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance has protected fellow Texans with auto, home, health, and life insurance since 1952. With more than 260,000 square miles of land and 27 million people, that's a lot to cover. Whether you're wrangling cattle or wrangling kids, we're proud to protect Texans in all Texan ways of life.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfect pizza. Bob Mock has owned Marco's Pizza franchises since 2013 and has been delivering pizza since 2001 and is the proud owner of 4 locations in the Waco area, in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to be open in Robinson. Order at marcos.com to make any moment better. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Offset with Smith in the backfield on 2nd and goal. And instead, they come around with the tight end. Ben Sims takes it in.
It's time for our weekly segment with Sam Bradshaw of Sikkim365.com. Now, here's David Smoak.
Bottom of the hour, national college football writer Ivan Maisel of On3.com will join us on the landscape of college football. We're now joined by Sam Bradshaw, S11 on the site, and also Sam Bradshaw on Twitter with that S11, joins us every Friday. Sam, thank you for being a part of the show today. How you been?
Doing well. Looking forward to tomorrow.
We just realized this. Armstrong reminded me that every time we come on, we go straight to you. I ask a question. I never say, hi, thank you for being a part of the show. And then you have to remind me, hey, by the way, thank you for asking me to be a part of the show. And I feel really guilty about that.
Either way, thanks for having me on.
All right, there you go. All right, now we're better. So how much does Gary Patterson not being on the sideline Saturday affect what you think TCU will do?
That's tough to say. Him not being there, I don't think they're going to have overall scheme changes. I don't think they're going to have anything massive in terms of what they want to do. They'll keep the same basic framework. But I think within that, you're going to have the opportunity for them to break tendency significantly just because you're going to have somebody else making significant calls. How often they go for it on 4th down, how often they simplify certain things on defense, how often they might have a little bit more preference for certain play call styles. For instance, is Doug Meacham an air raid guy? He might have had a little bit more of the reins on what he wants to do offensively being controlled by Patterson. Without him there, do they get a lot more wide open? Do they get a lot more aggressive? Or is it more the same? Tough to really tell. But if there's any kind of changes there, I think that's going to be where it's going to show up. The little tendencies that they've shown all season could potentially be turned on their head without Gary there to kind of moderate it.
J.J. Joe told us earlier, about 30 minutes ago, he thinks that Meacham has had kind of that, whatever they call that with a car when they're in NASCAR, that the kind of kind of kill down the speed a little bit. He thinks that that's been going on and that he might be able to just come out and just start hair on fire the way he wants.
Yeah, I think it's a good bet that Baylor probably needs to be prepared for tempo. I think a lot of those area guys will like to do that, and I could see a defensive coach like Patterson definitely saying, no, we're not going to do hurry up all game, are we? No. Because that just puts your defense in a bind. But I expect to see the kitchen sink out of TCU. Jerry Kill is a quality coach who won at a number of stops, and then beyond that defensive staff has taken it on the chin all year. They've had probably the most frustrating defensive year they've had in 20-plus years. And we already addressed Meacham on the offensive side. Things can get really different for them really quickly.
Yeah, and of course, who knows if Duggan, Zach Evans, I know that you never know, but without them, what can TCU do?
Well, Chandler Morris is a young kid. He comes from a quality high school program, and smart kid will be able to do a little bit for him. I think the bigger question is, can Duggan play? Because Zach Evans is an outstanding running back, but Kendre Miller is really good for them too as well. So I don't see as big a drop-off there. But TCU is built around the spread running game, and then from there, building air raid concepts off of it. And I think it's going to be tougher for him this year than last year. Because remember, last year, Baylor was really depleted on the defensive line. Their 3 interior line spots had maybe 5 guys ready to go, one of which was a very injured Chidi Obadiah. You had a converted center in Ryan Miller as your starting nose tackle. And then 2 guys at field tackle, or at the field end position, were having to play inside. So you had a couple guys playing out of position. And a lot of the run plays that TCU got throughout the game were going right at guys that were probably not the guys you would have expected to be playing at the beginning of the season on the interior. And they also got a wide receiver sweep touchdown the play after Jalen Petrie got ejected for targeting and his backup didn't hold the edge. I think it's going to be tougher for them to get the run game going against this Baylor group. They're just a lot deeper, a lot bigger, and a lot more active up front. So from there, it's how can they scheme ways to get one-on-one shots to Johnston on the outside, and how can they make it easy on Duggan or Morris if Duggan's not able to go, going against that secondary, because I do think it's going to be tough for them to get the run game going, despite the fact that they have some really good personnel in the backfield.
Do you believe in trap games?
Yes. Yes, I absolutely do. We saw the West Virginia game in 2019 was absolutely the definition of that, and you had a Baylor team that played for a Big 12 title and potentially a playoff spot, came an overtime play away from getting that fight for dear life against the West Virginia team that just won a couple games that year. This is a game where TCU's breaking tendency, where they're motivated to talk about something other than the new coaching staff coming in. The coaches are probably eager to put upset win on their resume that they're shipping around right now. There's a lot of motivation on TCU's side, so it's going to be imperative for the Bears to just come out, play your game, get a lead, and really nip this thing in the bud so that momentum doesn't build.
Yeah, I was mentioning that you don't want to do something like throw up on yourself a little bit early. You never want to do that, but you don't want to do that with a team that's a wounded team that maybe even be, who knows where they are. I'm sure they'll be focused because it's Baylor, focused because of the emotional week as well. So Baylor in the win against Texas, obviously methodical, especially the last quarter and a half or so. And what were your thoughts about how Gary Bohannon responded to a couple of what were obviously bad throws and bad decisions, but kept just firing away?
I like the mentality we saw from him on that, because it's very easy, particularly in a hyped game like that with a lot of talk leading up to the game, where it just seems like it's the center of the universe at the time it's being played. It's very easy for a guy to get down on himself or start pressing, but he just remained calm, went through his reads, executed, led his team down the field, made some really good throws, and then Baylor was able to win out after really not playing their best game. You had 2 turnovers in the first half, both on your side of the field, which is the only time that's happened all year. you had one play where the corner thought it was cover 3, or the corner thought it was cover 1, and the nickel thought it was cover 3, and nobody decided to run with the fastest skill guy on Texas's roster. And, outside of that one play, you're talking about a game that was basically 31-17. You didn't even play your best game, and you handled a solid Texas team. One that is disappointing their expectations, but very easily could have a much better record right now than they have. And you didn't even play your best, and you handled them.
Well, they kept Bijan Robinson completely negated. He had the little catch out inside the 5, but even then they didn't let him score. I've seen him walk in completely untouched on those throws out in the flat to him. They had that read pretty well. He did score eventually. The thoughts about what they're doing now against the run, Sam, and how impressive it is and what they're doing to make it that way.
Well, schematically, they're doing a lot to gamble in the passing game in order to do that. And they had some communication issues with a couple coverage busts against Texas. One that they took to the house, and a couple others that they were fortunate that they got pressure and Casey was a little off on. But, yeah, they've been outstanding against tailbacks the last 3 weeks. I mean, Letty Brown got next to nothing, and he's a very good back. Tyler Algier, who I think just scored on Virginia again, he got next to nothing against Baylor. And Bijan Robinson, as you mentioned, I mean, they've been outstanding against the run. To see this defense take that step forward in their run defense from what we saw last year, part of it's personnel. You get a healthy Gabe Hall and Chidi Obanaya back in the lineup, but you also get Siaki Ika, which is a difference maker at the nose tackle position. It's just a deeper group, and then Garmin Randolph at Jack also helps you. It's just a deeper group. It's a more talented group, and they are playing very sound against the run.
They really are. Were you stunned? I understand sometimes the pace of the game or what happens, and they were having success. And I thought Casey Thompson was better in the first half than Gary was, and even early on in the third quarter when they hit the play to go up 21-10, he did miss a wide open Xavier Worthy, but to keep Bijan Robinson down to 40-plus yards, and also the fact, if you had him, would you not feed him 25 times a game no matter the pace of the game?
Well, I wasn't too shocked that they were able to limit him in some respects. I didn't expect numbers like that, of course, but based off what I'd seen them do to a very good back in Tyler Algier, what they've done to Letty Brown, what they've done to some backs over the last couple of years with less than what they have personnel-wise right now, I'm not surprised that they were able to hold him down, because I expected to a certain degree they were going to do that and take their chances in the air. But, the question is, what are you giving up in order to do that? And, I'm not surprised they were able to hold him down. And if I'm Texas, you want to lean on the run, but their entire system is built on run, then RPO, then play action, and a progression passing game after that. So they're going to start with the run, but if you decidedly outnumber it, they're going to break out those run pass options, which is what they did, and they hit a few of those. I think the first touchdown was one of those. And then some of those play action games are on top of it. So it's kind of like the whole Baylor versus Michigan State where, yeah, Baylor didn't run for many yards, but in the first half alone, run pass option plays had passing yards of over 100 yards that were opened up specifically because the other team was outnumbering the run so much. So they still moved the ball off of it, but they weren't able to be consistent with it, and Baylor was able to get in some of those throwing lanes and really confuse Casey Thompson. Then some other times those pressures got him off balance. The play where the corner fell down and Worthy was running free, that was one of those where he was throwing off his back foot because he felt the pressure.
Yep, he was. And you got that was a walk-in touchdown, and he threw it a little bit wide, or a lot wide. Now, I saw a couple of quotes from Jerry Kill, Sam Bradshaw with us on Sikkim 365 Radio, Baylor, TCU tomorrow in Fort Worth, and he basically all but said, he said, listen, it's not a surprise here. Max Duggan's been playing with like a fractured bone in his foot, whatever it might be. He's a tough player. He's a tough runner. He can at times be streaky, like a lot of quarterbacks in the Big 12. But it does appear as if he's all but out. In fact, Paul Bloss on the text line, Dallas Media, Dallas-Fort Worth media basically saying that Duggan will not play, and Zach Evans most likely neither will be available. Mike Ducey, TV sports guy in the Dallas-Fort Worth market that we've talked to before. I mean, that's a killer, isn't it? Now, Miller, the running back, who I remember when he was a little high school player at Mount Enterprise, a little 2A school. Kendry Miller, he's a pretty good player, right?
Well, Miller's an outstanding athlete and really good player. I remember James Blanchard, before he was on Baylor staff, would post on the Sikkim 365 boards repeatedly, and he was just saying just how much the staff was raving. The rules staff was raving about how athletic Kendry Miller was. They ended up taking Tate McWilliams that year instead, but just incredible upside athletically, home run waiting to happen. But yeah, with Duggan out, that's going to be a very interesting set of circumstances for TCU to navigate. Ironically, after Duggan went down, the backup, Morris, actually moved the offense to a higher yards per drive against Kansas State. But part of that is you have a scrambling guy that can dink and dunk underneath going against a drop 8 zone style defense. It's going to be a very different matchup against Baylor. And I think it's going to be a matchup that they're going to miss Duggan a lot more. But it wouldn't surprise me to see Ron Roberts and Dave Aranda mix up their coverages, give a lot of safe coverages, but bring a lot of unique pressure looks, bringing only 4 guys, but simulating like you're bringing more, and really doing what they can to try and confuse this kid, make him execute down the field, and then really not let him run. And, you know, if this kid can beat you 7 or 8 times going down the field throwing it, that's one thing. I don't think he's going to be able to do it, but he's a smart quarterback, and he could surprise.
Thank you, Sam, as always. Sam Bradshaw at Baylor_S11 on Twitter, also on Sikkim 365 Radio, breaking down content. In fact, has a big story on the premium section, pinned in the premium section as well. Preview and prediction of Baylor's rivalry game against TCU. So you think that what do you think this score will be? I know it can change. Who knows? Somebody could muff a punt. Somebody could run some crazy thing. What do you think happens? I say 30-17 Baylor.
Well, whenever I make my prediction for these games, I look at how many drives I think there's going to be and then how often are they going to score, how many points are they going to get each time they score. And the way I'm looking at it right now, I've got 37-24 Baylor if we were going against the TCU team that we expected to see healthy. So after that, maybe take a touchdown or 2 off if they don't have Duggan, because I think Duggan's been playing pretty well for them. But yeah, 37-24 is my official prediction. So
thank you, Sam. Have a good weekend, Sam Bradshaw, who delivered a baby, Armstrong, a couple of weeks ago, and he's doing fine. He's in recovery, and hope he's doing fine. Not sure if the wife's okay or not. But Sam Bradshaw with us on Fridays in the 5 o'clock hour. I made the prediction of 30-17. I was pretty close with Texas. I was very close with Texas, and there's been a couple I've been wrong. I did not think they would beat Iowa State, and they did. And that thing, of course, went down to the wire. I did not expect them to beat Oklahoma State, and they didn't. It's funny because fans only remember when you predict they would lose or when they lose and they win. They don't remember, Armstrong, too many times when you say, no, Baylor won't beat Oklahoma State, and they say, hey, you were right. But I understand that. That's fan. I've done that before myself. When we come back, we're not done. Ivan Maisel, national college football writer. Let's get one more segment in, Armstrong, if we can, before we go to Ivan Maisel. A couple more notes to get to, and this is Sikkim 365 Radio. PettyClinicalOT.com. Dr. Kent Petty can help you become the high-performance man you need to be. With your sex drive, with if you have issues with ED, your libido, all of that, it can help you. Energy, sleep habits. Testosterone is a part of your body, and as you get older, men, your testosterone level, 1 out of every 3 men has some sort of a symptom, maybe all 3 of what I mentioned when it comes to low testosterone or decreasing testosterone levels. Dr. Kent Petty will get you an appointment. Tell him I sent you. Get your appointment. Get your lab work. Get the results of your testosterone level. And if it's too low, he could put you in a program to increase your testosterone levels so you can become the high-performance man that you want to be, need to be, and perhaps as you've gotten older, used to be as well. You may say, I'm 40, it's not me. You never know. If you have any of those symptoms, sleep habits doesn't mean testosterone, but it can. ED, sex drive, manhood, all that stuff, libido, it damn sure can be a part of that. Dr. Kent Petty at Petty Clinic, lowt.com.
The 2021 Ram brand just received first place in the prestigious J.D. Power's Initial Quality. The Dodge brand finished second to Ram, and the 2021 Jeep Gladiator is rated first among all midsize trucks. Get an early start to the Black Friday sales event only at Allen Samuels, 201 West Loop 340 in Waco.
Come by, let's be friends.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio with socially distanced seating for your enjoyment. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs and veggie burgers too. State Fair tornado fries, nachos, and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strips, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Erie Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The 5 o'clock hour is brought to you by Edward Jones and financial advisor Cam Heathcott. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
All right, a little couple of minutes here. Sharice Armistead on the chat room has got some West Virginia fans all stirred up today. I mean, she has got the West Virginia fans who have been a part of this from day one a little bit upset today. So That's one of the things that's going on in the chat room. I leave that thing for like 30 minutes, and look what happens. Look what happens. From John Kelly, we took it out on Oklahoma in the Fiesta Bowl in 2007 for Rich Rod leaving. Talking about West Virginia. A lot of West Virginia fans who listen to us, watch us. We appreciate that. Owen is a West Virginia fan. He started off with a call immediately off the top of the show today. From Sharice, at least Ohio State won a national title and West Virginia has not. All right. Oh, from Sam. David, do you have a comment on Jimmy Lake, University of Oregon President Exchange, starting to have less and less faith he's the dude at the University, UW at Washington? I did not see the exchange between the Oregon president and or West Virginia or what Washington coach Jimmy Lake. I do know Jimmy Lake took shot at Oregon academically. Did you guys see that? Jack, did you read that, or Armstrong? Jimmy Lake, the coach at Washington, was talking about recruiting, and he made the comment about losing or maybe the edge or falling behind or whatever it was on recruiting. And he said about Oregon. And he said, we recruit against like USC, Stanford, I forgot who else he was mentioning. He goes, and he basically, and I don't have the quote, I wish I did, he basically said that we don't recruit the same type of players as Oregon, and he was kind of alluding to academic standards. Well, of course, I'm sure the Oregon president popped back at that as well. From Jacob, are there any updates regarding the Big 12 expansion for round 2? Jacob has gotten quiet. I did say, and I did report, and I did mention, I think it was on Friday, that there was movement when it comes to Chapter 2 with a program, and we have mentioned the Chapter 2 radar would include Memphis, SMU, South Florida, and Boise State. And I've been on record as saying that there were some things that kind of like flies in the ointment when it comes to Memphis. Now, Memphis is going to deny that. That's fine. I've never been someone ever been a clicks and views person. I am never going to say something as far as reporting. I might have an opinion that's nuts, but as far as reporting and sending and reporting information, I have never been someone that's going to just pop something up there, throw it against the wall. I'm not going to be one of those guys that's on those chat yap, what I call them, back and forth shows, to just like, I may not believe in this, but I'm going to act like I don't because the other person's the opposite, and so we have to argue. I'm not that way. I've never been that way. But I do believe, and no matter what Memphis, and I know I've seen a couple of columns, that Memphis, when it came time for Chapter 1, I think the Big 12 wanted them to be a part of those four, one of those four. It didn't work out. We know about the president, outgoing president. We know about, there's even been discussion. The Liberty Bowl kind of became a deflection. They're going to work that out. We've already know that at some point. But I do think that maybe Memphis, at least about a week ago, a week ago today, where there was at least some communication that there needed to be. I don't know if that means verbal, handwritten, signatures. I don't know. But I do believe it moved a little bit in more of a positive direction, but then it got real quiet. And it might have gotten quiet for this reason. Let's just keep moving forward, not say anything. And I do know this as well. Now, whether they get to this point or not, the Big 12 would like to be able to release the next phase of their expansion. And I know some of you, golly, don't go past 12. And I get that at times too, but they are. I think they would like to be able to kind of solidify some things, if not soon by the end of this month. But now it's November 5th. It's now November 5th. And so I think the Big 12 would like to, Bob Bowlesby would like to have had something by the end of November. I don't know. It's not a race against the clock, but in some cases it could be. From the 360, such a travesty. Cantaloupe head coach Greg McElroy picks Oklahoma number 4 in the first week rankings and goes on to say they will not make a run and they won't be 13-0 at the end of the season. Either Cantaloupe is the stupidest reporter I've ever worked for in sports, or he hasn't watched any of the Oklahoma football games the past 5 years in November, and I'll just go on the Joshua 360 Boomer Sooner. You're fired up about McElroy. He's just doing his job. He has an opinion. He might have, let's say you had the opinion. He would disagree with you. That's okay. He played the game. I didn't. He played at Alabama. I didn't. I didn't play anywhere. So, but I appreciate that you're fired up about it, Joshua. 360 Boomer Sooner. Thanks for the text. When we come back, Ivan Maisel, national college football writer for On3.com, Sikkim 365 Radio. Discover Woodway. Discover Woodway continues to have events coming up here as we go into the later part of the year. They've had the concert series. They've had various things. They had the trick-or-treat deal like last Saturday night for kids. That was great with the police department. Concerts at the Arboretum. Jake Hoot and Sundance Head coming up November 17th from 7 o'clock until 9:30. Join Discover Woodway. Go to discoverwoodway.com or get their app and find out all of what they do every single week and into the upcoming month as well. Featuring Jake Hoot and Sundance Head, country soul music, family and friends. Southern Roots Brewing Company will be there selling drinks and food. There's limited seating. Be available. Tickets right now. You can go to discoverwoodway.com/event/concerts, and you can find what you need. Tickets are $15 a piece. Opening doors at 6:30. That's at the Pavilion at the Arboretum. Concerts at the Arboretum. Jake Hoot, who won The Voice, and Sundance Head. That's November 17th. At discoverwoodway.com.
The 2021 Ram brand just received first place in the prestigious J.D. Power's Initial Quality. The Dodge brand finished second to Ram, and the 2021 Jeep Gladiator is rated first among all midsize trucks. Get an early start to the Black Friday sales event, only at Allen Samuels, 201 West Loop 340 in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio with socially distanced seating for your enjoyment. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs and veggie burgers too. State Fair tornado fries, nachos, and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
it's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links, and you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from select, choice, or prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strips, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The 5 o'clock hour is brought to you by Edward Jones and financial advisor Cam Heathcott. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
All right, here we go. This 5 o'clock hour, winding down up until 6 o'clock. Our pregame, Baylor and TCU. Kickoff is just after 2:30. Our pregame tomorrow starts. What time, Armstrong? At 12:30? Is that right? 12:30 tomorrow here in the studio. Ivan Maisel, national writer, award-winning writer, joins us on 3.com. He was with us at Big 12 Media Days and joins us again here on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Ivan, my goodness, how much has changed in college football since we saw you at Big 12 Media Days?
You know, when you said that, David, that was the first thought that came to my mind. That was many centuries ago in college football.
It really was. And today Conference USA added will have 4 more teams. And I saw the number is now over maybe 22 or whatever of teams that will switch or are going to switch. And I think it's going to go up again even more. What are your thoughts about where we are right now with so much like furniture being arranged in these conferences?
You know, if you think about it, David, once you get past all the, quote, realignment, what's really changed? I mean, the big change is that the Big 12 is still in the Power 5 in terms of governance, and they will be treated as such, as far as we know, by the playoff and by the NCAA, but they're diminished in terms of the TV market. And all the leagues that have fallen in behind them, the American picked up 4 teams from Conference USA. Does that mean the American is stronger, or does that mean the American's more like Conference USA? The Big 12 picked up teams from the American. Does that mean the Big 12 is stronger, or is it just more like what the American is now? So I think the marketplace is going to tell us that it's diminished, but everybody's got new leagues, and and they can be excited about that. And I guess we'll just have to see how it plays out.
You were there. You heard Bob Bowlesby. This stuff that happened at the end of July, which does seem like it is, in fact, months ago. You saw how positive he was about the conference going forward. Then they're blindsided by the story with Texas and Oklahoma. What do you think? Because he was down. He had to be knocked almost out on the campus and got up with an 8 count somehow. How do you feel like he's responded under the duress, and maybe like what in the hell happened to us?
Oh, I think Bob's a great administrator, and he's been a great administrator for a long time. And I don't think you can, pin this on him. Texas and OU did what they decided to do. Of course, they weren't going to tell him. And even if he had known, if they decided to leave, what was he going to do to stop them? If they had wanted to stay, they would have gone to the league and said, we want to stay, but we need changes. They didn't do that. So, you can't pin it on Bob, and you feel terrible for him because he's an honorable guy, and he's done well for so many years, and as an AD at Iowa, as an AD at Stanford, running the Big 12. But it was a body blow, I'm sure.
I saw the story on ESPN.com, alluded to it. I saw you mentioned it as well. $533.6 million since 2010. That doesn't even include anything for most of this year when there's been a lot of coaching changes. Did that, like I said to the audience, I said, I don't know if it was going to be $288 million or $900 million. I knew it would be pretty high. Did that number kind of stagger you a little bit?
Absolutely. Just to see it all together in one place is remarkable. And to see that some of the schools made the same mistake over and over again, and then just throw money at the problem to make it go away. I mean, it's fascinating. I don't want to say it's an indictment of how we do business. I guess it is how we as college football do our business. You know, I guess it is. I think it speaks to how money doesn't really solve any problems. You still have to be smart and hire the right guy at the right time.
Your thoughts about the college football playoff standing, which to me is kind of like a drama series or even a soap opera early on, and I sometimes don't. In fact, I'll be honest, I haven't watched it in a while. I think 2014 just burned me, just watching how the narrative changed week to week, and obviously Baylor and TCU were caught up in that, although Ohio State got in and they won the whole thing and dominated along the way. Do you watch much of it? I know your job is to cover college athletics. How much do you watch of that college football standings release each week?
Well, I pay attention to it because I think that's the most relevant ranking. You know, it doesn't mean I agree with it. And, you know, I think the committee is doing themselves a real disservice by not putting everything out on the table each week and explaining what they do and what they did and how they came to the decision. They don't, you know, every week we get the same sort of milquetoast explanations, and I think it does them a disservice. It certainly does the viewers and the fans a disservice.
Do you feel like there's a lack of trust because of that from the fan bases?
Sure. And you know, I don't know that, David, I don't know that there's any answers you could come up with that is going to make the fans feel like you did it right, unless their school is where they want them to be. So it may be a question without an answer, but you know, the sort of vague things they say each week don't do anybody any good.
Yeah, it doesn't at times, like one day it's control the game, the next week is strength of schedule, the next week is how many teams. Oh, let me ask you this, if you don't mind, because we've had a couple of data guys come on, and with SMU and Houston not a part of the top 25, is there any belief in your part that they're out because that hurts Cincinnati and their cause?
Oh, I don't think there's anything nefarious or conspiratorial to hurt Cincinnati. But it's almost like the recipe is built in. You know, and I don't know what, and this is a great example. I like to think I pay close attention, and I don't know whether it's the way their formulas are based that, you know, automatically the American gets shorter shrift than the other leagues. But, you know, and I get that the American is down this year, and that does hurt Cincinnati, and it probably should hurt Cincinnati. But criticizing Cincinnati for playing a weak schedule when they have one win over a top 10 team, and then, you know, putting Michigan State at number 3 when they have one win over a top 10 team, and they have a common opponent who Cincinnati beat much more soundly than Michigan State did. You know, I don't understand that, and it seems pretty simple, but they didn't really address it.
Ivan Maisel, on3.com. How's the site going? I know you guys were going to launch it. You came on with us in late July, as we mentioned, and then it was about to open up, I think, in August. How's it going?
Well, it's going well. I would love to have, if we could have opened earlier, just to get more people hired and get more things, you know, get a better sense of how things would go before the season. But we've been slowly adding people as the season has gone on. You know, we are doing better than we expected in terms of readers and unique users and all those numbers that the business guys look at. And we seem to have gained credibility fairly quickly, which is always comforting.
All right, one more thing about the college football, Ivan Maisel. Dave Aranda and Baylor, they're 7-1, had a methodical comeback win. They didn't panic, came back to beat Texas. They have TCU, a kind of a so-called trap game with Gary Patterson's story in Fort Worth this week. They are better. The record's better than I thought it would be. Your thoughts about what he's done in year two with a much more normal year compared to what he had to deal with a year ago?
Well, I think it's a credit to Aranda and his ability to remake his staff during the offseason, make changes that sometimes young head coaches are hesitant to make. And he made them, and the team is better off for it. And, I think because Baylor came out of the gate pretty slow, people just didn't pay a lot of attention. And all of a sudden, here they are. I'd be surprised if they have trouble tomorrow. TCU is just not that, I don't know that they're suddenly going to rise up and play the way we thought they should have all year just because Patterson announced he was leaving. Baylor's played better than TCU has all year. I'm like everybody else. I'm very anxious to see the game next week.
Ivan, you were on Good Morning America and others. You had discussed with us the book, I Keep Trying to Catch His Eye, about your son Max. And that story, you shared that with us at Big 12 Media Days. That book is now out. What has been the reaction to it?
Well, it's been gratifying, David. People seem to be responding to the message that I wanted to convey. I know some people are scared of the book because it's about the death of my son, but and that part is sad, obviously. But the point I've tried to make about the book is that it's really more about grief, which is something that if you live long enough, we all have to deal with. And it's really, and in some ways, it's just about life. There is a very sad component to the book, but there's some funny stuff in there too, and uplifting and frustrating and sad. It's just kind of what has happened to me over the last 6 years.
Ivan, thank you for writing the book and also sharing that with everyone. That at times everybody struggles with grief. There's no question about it. When it's close, of course, that's obviously what grief is. Thanks for your time, man. Appreciate you jumping on with us again today.
Anytime, David. Thank you.
Ivan Maisel, National Award-winning college football writer on 3.com. And the book, if you have not read it, we mentioned this to Ivan when he was on with us. He lost his son, Max. I Keep Trying to Catch His Eye, a memoir of loss, grief, and love by Ivan Maisel. It's an audio book. It's hardcover, and it's also an ebook. You can go and look it up. Hatchet Books, by the way, hatchetbooks.com. Ivan Maisel, I Keep Trying to Catch His Eye. When we come back, we wrap it up on this Friday afternoon. Our pregame tomorrow at 12:30. Baylor and TCU here in the studio, 101 Elm Avenue, Sikkim 365 Radio.
It's time for some high school football. Berg Colgan Ford proudly celebrates the Panthers, Cadets, Lions, and all the Central Texas football teams as they march their way through the season and down the field. Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Berg Colgan Ford. We'd love to show you our Broncos, Raptors, and Mustangs. These vehicles are winners with their sporty options and designs. Nominate who you think deserves the Built Ford Tough Player of the Week at FordPlayerOfTheWeek.com. Visit us anytime at BKFord.com, making buying your next Ford simple at BK Ford.
Hey guys, sports betting season is in full force with football season entrenched and the NBA and NHL underway and the Major League Baseball playoffs. You need a sports book with integrity and longevity like BetUS.com. BetUS has been pioneers in the sportsbook industry for almost 3 decades, thriving and paying their loyal customer base. That's BetUS.com, and they have loads of bonuses like ours at BetUS.com. 125% bonus on promo code SICKM125 or or a 200% bonus if you use crypto on promo code SICK'EM200. BetUS, known as America's favorite sportsbook. NFL, college football, MLB, UFC, PGA golf, they've got it all at BetUS.com. So go to BetUS.com today and use promo code SICK'EM125 or SICK'EM200. That's BetUS.com, promo code SICK'EM125 or SICK'EM200.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Brad, what makes you different than anyone else, in your opinion, as far as what Boozer's does?
The fact that I own the jewelry store, anything I need to do, will do, or can do, I can do it. The buck stops with me, whereas a lot of places you have to go up the corporate command and corporate channel. Well, if you come in and want to make a deal, we sit there and we make the deal.
And you can find whatever someone's looking for, correct?
Anything is obtainable. I don't care what brand it is, what size it is, how much it costs, large or small. Anything is obtainable, and we can definitely get that in for you to see, look at, or buy.
Do you have the opportunity, if people have to pay things off, as far as a layaway program? What about what you have with financing?
Absolutely. We have 12-month no-interest financing. We have layaway. If you want to pay with Bitcoin, I can take Bitcoin now. So if there's any way you want to pay for it, we can find a way out to make it work.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The Sikkim 365 Radio app is sponsored by Alan Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco. Your friend in the car business at Loop 340 and east of 84. Come by. Let's be friends.
All right. The chat room is still fighting with Sharice. Amazing people. I love all of them. The chat room. JG Neolardo. Sharice, your Buckeyes are the worst to work with in the office, even remotely. I've heard there's a little bit of that arrogance from Ohio State, right? There's a few fan bases. Texas gets a lot of that heat, but so what is going to be? 254-339-1122, text, call, or even on the chat room. What will be the biggest story we discuss in college football on Monday? Will it be a player's performance? Will it be another coaching hot seat? Will it be a huge upset? Will it be a dominant win? Will it be somebody that's really, really good that somehow finds a way to win that maybe not enough beauty points for the next college football standings soap opera? What will be the biggest story coming out of the weekend, in your opinion, right now in the chat room at 254-339-1122? What will be the biggest story out of the weekend when we come back together again on Monday when it comes to college football? Baylor pounds TCU from Bob Kramer. They should. I have a feeling about this game. I'm not a glass half empty person by any means. I think everybody has sometimes when you have glass half full or glass half empty. Maybe it's a confidence factor, an experience, whatever, or trends. I just feel like, I know the Gary Patterson story. Baylor, either this is a tough game, they find a way to win, or they get on TCU pretty quickly, and the Frogs are just right now, they're just struggling, and it's hard to get back up off the canvas. Here's a couple. Bob said Baylor pounds TCU. From the ears at Georgia State to the AAC. Bob Williams on Sharice. I'm not fighting with Sharice. This is actually something I'm going to read on the air. This is where we are right now. I'm trying to think about proposing. Cody Knight, Texas loses another game. That put them at 4-5. They're playing Iowa State this weekend, aren't they? Is that right? The Horns. How about those two teams? Think about where they are. If Texas loses, they go to 4-5. If they win, that's a nice win. It's a good win, but it's not a quality win because Iowa State right now where they are. But it's a win. You got right now one of those two. What about where Iowa State is? We hear about where Texas is because the expectations are always ridiculous. Maybe not ridiculous. They're out of whack. They're unrealistic at times. But what about Iowa State? What about Iowa State? West Virginia last weekend, after they had the nice win against Oklahoma State. Oh, man, they've turned the corner. They've lost to Baylor, West Virginia. They've lost to Iowa. What about Matt Campbell and Iowa State if they don't beat Texas? That might be interesting. That's from Cody Knight. Blake, our Oklahoma State fan, the glass is half empty with poison, Smokey. All right, I like that as well. Sharice, I had to find out if I could approve her message. Now we're, okay, West Virginia and Sharice, this is not a good fit. All right, from Simon 2077, TCU doesn't have enough depth to keep up with Baylor. What the Bears need to worry about is the game in Manhattan. No, I get what you're saying. They need to worry about TCU. I don't take any game for granted. I know Baylor's playing well. They look really good. And even then, a play here and there, who knows, against Texas, but they did dominate the last quarter of that game. From John Kelly, and by the way, Simon, thanks for the chat. John Kelly, Smokey, I'm looking for an upset tomorrow against the Cowboys in Morgantown. West Virginia, did they come up off the mat? Who's going to come off the mat tomorrow? TCU, Texas, Iowa State. Who's it going to be in the Big 12? West Virginia, keep rolling? I say rolling. They won the game last week. Thank you, John Kelly, for that. Special day with Major Harris's number. Is that right, John? You're telling me they're retiring his number in Morgantown. Boy, Major Harris was a heck of a player. Bob Williams, Auburn brings the referees to College Station. Bob, you're bad. From Simon, Iowa State will prevail. From Blake, I love those Baylor yellow uniforms. JG, Washington upsets Oregon. I am aspirational about this. All right. A&M over Auburn from Simon, and Bob says play them one at a time, and Bob, I agree. I've always been that way. Maybe it's because I'm old school. I remember when my favorite team was good, which has been forever ago. You can look at the schedule and go, there's 6 or 7, 8 wins right there. We know Oklahoma. We know that anytime they play Colorado, even if they owned them for a long time. Wait a minute, that game right there that's kind of just a road game somewhere, that bothers me. And, of course, it was always a really good non-conference game or two. I was glass half full all the way. Now, who knows? Does Scott Frost survive the weekend if they get blasted? And they should, most likely will, by Ohio State. From Wayne Gerbach, Smokey, I would not be stunned if Purdue upsets Sparty. From Blake, Bo Nix owns A&M at Kyle Field. Alabama plays a lot of pansies, too. Oh, that just threw it out. Roman just threw that one out. And Cincinnati win and yet moves down in the rankings from Cy. Yeah, I bet that frustrates the heck out of Cincinnati fans, and we've discussed that quite a bit. We'll be back Monday. Actually, we're back tomorrow. at 12:30 with our pregame show with Baylor and TCU. Paul Catalina will join me in studio. Armstrong Sims, Jack McKenzie. Did I take care of you guys today? I need verbal confirmation on the show for our audience to hear it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
With
With the double R burgers, baby.
I got the double R burgers sent in from, what was the name of that app? Waiter? I don't know half of them. I know we've been doing DoorDash or whatever. Paul and Craig would be very jealous of that, by the way, the double R burgers. Double-double for you and a double-double for Jack, and I got just a single one. I'll regret that at some point at my age later on today. All right, from John Kelly, from Biscuits and Gravy, from Cody, and from Bob and everybody else, thank you, thank you, thank you. Appreciate all of you who are a part of the chat room and also the text line as well. Here's one text as we go to the break. The biggest story coming out of the weekend from the 360 will be that everyone else caught up with OU 9-0. 360 is a Sooner fan having fun with it. Also, the 817, I'm driving. Game day on its way to Waco next Saturday. He thinks will be, or she thinks one or the other will be the story coming out of the weekend. Take care of TCU, and that might be happening with Oklahoma having the off week. For Armstrong and Jack, Paul and Craig back Monday. Paul and I tomorrow in studio, the pregame. Good night. Have a great weekend. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at goarmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.